Chapter 1857. Not long after Imperial Physician Yu left, General Li hurried over with an ugly expression on his face. Imperial concubine Chi Su is in charge of the elixir gathering hall, but that little bastard Chi Su is too much. How dare he humiliate the royal family in public? He doesn't put the royal family in his eyes at all. Imperial concubine Shin's eyes darkened. I told you to seal up the spirit-gathering medicinal hall, but you failed? And that spirit-gathering medicinal hall is related to Chi Su? The spirit-gathering medicinal liquid was in Maplewood Town, so Imperial concubine Shin naturally didn't know about it. Chi Zheng didn't tell her either, afraid that she would snatch the formula away first. However, since the spirit-gathering medicinal hall was opened in the Imperial City, with Imperial concubine Shin's eyes and ears, there was no reason for her not to know. It's that little bastard Chi Su. General Li gritted his teeth in hatred. Not only does he have the spirit-gathering medicinal liquid, but he also created divine spirit realm puppets. Divine spirit realm puppets? Imperial concubine Shin's heart suddenly moved, and a light flashed in her eyes. If these puppets were given to her, then she would have the ability to fight against those ministers. You told Chi Su to come see me, so it's understandable that he didn't know it was my order at first. If he knew that I wanted the spirit-gathering medicinal liquid, he would definitely hand it over with both hands. Imperial concubine Shin raised her chest and ordered arrogantly. General Li's expression was a bit ugly. Chi Su, he knows that I'm your person. What? Imperial concubine Shin's expression changed. He knows it's me? He actually dares not to come see me? I'm his aunt. She doesn't even listen to the orders of her elders? This Chi Su is really too much. He didn't have any upbringing at all. How did his mother educate him? Also, General Li carefully looked at Imperial concubine Shin. Before I came, I asked around. Chi Su originally had the formula for the spirit-gathering medicinal liquid, but he sold it to the second prince of the state of Tianxi a few days ago. I reckon that the person who opened this medicinal hall is the second prince. Although General Li was stupid, he knew what to do. After he left in a huff, he asked about the spirit-gathering medicinal hall's master. After asking around, he actually found out about it. The situation in the Imperial City didn't know about what happened in Maplewood Town, but some outsiders had heard about it. As for the formula being sold to the second prince, it was the second prince who helped Chi Su deliberately spread the news in order to create an illusion for these people. If the medicinal hall belonged to the second prince, it would not be so easy to take it by force. Otherwise, it would definitely cause a war between the two countries, and the losses would outweigh the gains. Qin Fei was so angry that she almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Her beautiful face was twisted. Chi Su, that little bastard, sold the recipe to the second prince, but he didn't even give it to his aunt. The Qi family really raised him for nothing. Imperial concubine Shin, that little bastard has gone too far. He would rather sell it to the second prince than to our drifting wind country. He's an ungrateful wretch. Originally, General Li was just going along with Qin Fei's words. But who would have thought that his words would make Qin Fei even angrier? What do you mean by selling it to our drifting wind country? Not only am I the imperial concubine, but I am also his aunt. It is his honor to take something from him. Why should I charge him? Qin Fei clenched her fists tightly. If Chi Su was standing in front of her, she would definitely not be able to resist killing him. Imperial concubine. Then are we just going to let this matter go? General Li asked carefully. Qin Fei's face was ashen. I have no way of taking over the spirit-gathering medicinal hall, but I definitely won't let Chi Su go. It's just that I have more important things to do now. The day my son is registered as the emperor will be the day the Qi siblings die. Chapter 1858. Her face contorted in anger, and her trembling body sent chills down her spine. Compared to Chi Su, dealing with Mu Shiuexin was more important. Thus, she spared his life for now. General Li, come with me to see His Majesty. Concubine Shin took a deep breath and stood up from the chaise lounge. The time for His Majesty to take the medicine had passed, so Imperial Physician, you must have succeeded in the bedroom. The little prince knelt in front of the emperor's bed and cried, as if the emperor was already dead. However, his head was covered on the bed, so no one noticed that he was actually crying. There were no traces of tears on his face. Of course, the little prince's heart-wrenching cries still moved the officials who were guarding the bedchamber. Sigh, the little prince is so filial. He basically comes to see His Majesty every day. On the other hand, the fourth princess has gone somewhere. His Majesty used to love the fourth princess the most, but she's not filial enough. She can't even compare to a single hair on the little prince's head. The officials shook their heads and sighed with disapproval in their eyes. Perhaps it was because Mu Shueshin hadn't appeared in the emperor's bedroom for a few days, which made everyone feel disappointed. After all, the emperor loved the fourth princess the most. "Greetings, concubine Sheen." A voice came from outside the door. Then, concubine Sheen pushed open the door and slowly walked to the emperor's bed. "The fourth princess isn't here yet?" Concubine Sheen's eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. "This fourth princess is too much. His Majesty is already so sick, but she still doesn't know how long she'll be here. She even came to find me yesterday and said that she's in love with Chi Mo from the Chi family, so she wants me to bestow the marriage on His Majesty's behalf." What? Unsurprisingly, Qin Fei's words were like a heavy stick that caused everyone to pale in fright. The fourth princess wants to marry Chi Mo? Isn't she engaged to Chi Su? Although Chi Su has already been expelled from the Chi family, His Majesty is seriously ill now. How can she still think about love and abandon His Majesty at a time like this? At this moment, all the ministers were dissatisfied with Mu Shueshin's actions. Only a few of them felt that she wouldn't be so unfilial. Qin Fei's lips curled into a smile as she lowered her eyes to hide the smugness in them. She quietly looked at the man lying on the bed as a cold light flashed across her eyes. "Your Majesty, since you love the fourth princess so much and can't forget the empress, I will reunite your family in a few days." Fourth princess. Just when Qin Fei was thinking about how to torture Mu Shueshin, a palace maid's voice sounded from outside. Shortly after, Mu Shueshin, who was dressed in a pink dress, walked in. When she saw Qin Fei, hatred flashed in her eyes. "Fourth princess, you've finally come." Qin Fei smiled faintly. "I had thought that you no longer cared for His Majesty. His Majesty's love for you has been in vain." Mu Shueshin snorted coldly. "Is staying by Imperial Father's side to prove my filial piety? If you have the time, you might as well think of a way to save Father." "Then has Princess found a way to save His Majesty?" Qin Fei's eyes flashed as she asked gently. Mu Shueshin bit her lips. "Not at the moment, but I will do my best to save him." "Is that so?" Qin Fei sneered, the mockery in her eyes obvious. The ministers couldn't stand it anymore and couldn't help but criticize her. Chapter 1859. Your Highness, His Majesty doesn't have much time left. If you remember that he has doted on you for so many years, then you should stay by His Majesty's side for the next few days. The one who said this was Lu Yu's father, Lu Yi. That's right. Grand Tutor Jiao also looked at Mu Shueshin with a disapproving gaze. Official Lu's words are reasonable. The moment you arrived, you criticized concubine Qin and the little prince. But the concubine and the little prince have been guarding His Majesty for many days. In comparison, you have been missing all day. You even asked concubine Qin to bestow a marriage for you at this critical moment. Your Highness, it's your business that you and Chi Mo are in love with each other, but His Majesty is bedridden. You still have a mood to talk about love? Are you worthy of His Majesty? Lu Yi said angrily, his expression somewhat bitter. Mu Shueshin's eyes widened. She and Chi Mo were in love? She even asked concubine Qin to bestow a marriage? How shameless was this woman? Mu Shueshin glared at concubine Qin angrily. "Concubine Qin, you shameless person. How dare you ruin my reputation? When did Chi Mo and I fall in love? You were the one who wanted to give me to Chi Mo as a concubine." Following Mu Shueshin's words, all the officials looked at concubine Qin's face. Concubine Qin covered her mouth in shock and looked at Mu Shueshin with a pained gaze. Her gaze seemed to be accusing Mu Shueshin of framing her. Of course, During this period, concubine Sheen pinched the little prince's leg when no one was paying attention. The little prince's tears immediately flowed down, and he pounced towards Mu Shueshin. "You bad woman, you slander my mother. I saw you flirting with cousin Chi Mo outside with my own eyes. I also saw you kneeling and begging my mother to bestow a marriage." His fist landed on Mu Shueshin's body fiercely. Logically speaking, Mu Shueshin could send the little prince flying with one palm. However, General Li's aura made Mu Shueshin unable to move. His aura was only targeted at Mu Shueshin. No one else could sense it. "Bad woman, what a waste of father's affection for you. You're a scourge of the royal family. You are a disgrace." The little prince glared at Mu Shueshin fiercely. Mu Shueshin sucked in a mouthful of cold air in pain as she glared at the little prince. But Mu Shueshin clearly didn't do anything, but the little prince's body suddenly fell backward, landing on the ground with a loud thud. "My son." Imperial concubine Sheen quickly went forward and helped the little prince up. She looked at Mu Shueshin with a pained expression. "When you came to find this concubine, you begged this concubine to bestow a marriage for you. You even wanted this concubine to take the blame for you, saying that this concubine forced you to marry so that you wouldn't have to bear the name of being unfilial. However, this concubine didn't want His Majesty to be so pitiful, so this concubine revealed this matter." But Qin Fei's tears flowed down her face. This consort didn't think you would accuse this consort like this just because this consort exposed your true face. "It's fine if you falsely accuse me, but why did you have to harm my son? He's still a child. No matter how many mistakes he has made, how can you, as an imperial sister, hurt him?" Mu Shueshin had never seen such a shameless person. She was so angry that her body trembled, and her beautiful face turned deathly pale. "I didn't hurt him. He was the one who kept hitting me." Fourth princess. Qin Fei stood up with the little prince in her arms. She stared at Mu Shueshin with a pained expression. There was no anger in her eyes, only disappointment. "You said that you didn't hit my son? Then why did he fall for no reason?" Chapter 1860. Mu Shueshin slowly closed her eyes. After a long time, she opened them again. The pair of clear eyes no longer had any excess emotions. "Firstly, this princess did not touch a finger of his, and I am not willing to take the blame. Secondly, so what if this princess hit him? He was the one who made the first move. This princess only wants to warn you. The heavens are watching what people do. If you do too many bad things, there will be retribution. Bad woman, you will have retribution. You deserve to die a horrible death." The little prince raised his head and glared at Mu Shueshin fiercely. Imperial Mother said that it was because of this woman that Imperial Father ignored her. It was this woman who took away her father. So, she deserved to die. Mu Shueshin coldly snorted and looked at the man on the bed. "This time, I am here to take Imperial Father away." "No." The first to object was Lu Yi. He frowned. "The Emperor is already seriously ill and can't take any more trouble. Where do you want to take him?" "This princess wants to take Imperial Father to the princess residence outside the palace." The Emperor had always doted on Mu Shueshin. Other than the princess residence in the palace, there was also one outside the palace. However, Mu Shueshin rarely stayed there. So, other than a few cleaning servants, there was not a single maid in the residence. Imperial concubine Sheen's eyes flickered. She originally wanted to force Mu Shueshin to stay by the Emperor's side. When the Emperor died from the poison, she could push the blame onto her. Who knew that this woman wanted to take the Emperor away? This way, her plan could be carried out even more easily. "Princess, I'm afraid this is not appropriate. There is no doctor outside the palace. How can His Majesty be treated?" "Doctor?" Mu Shueshin sneered. Imperial Father was originally sick from worry. If he was nursed well, even if he couldn't recover, he wouldn't be like this now. Isn't it all because of this group of quacks? Don't worry, this princess will look for famous doctors to treat Imperial Father. If they can't cure him, this princess is willing to use my life as an apology. Look for famous doctors? In this world, there was a doctor that could cure Imperial Father? She wanted to take Imperial Father away because she didn't want to meet Imperial concubine Qin and her son every time she came. She might as well spend a few months outside peacefully. Moreover, she felt that it would be better to follow her father after his death than to become Qi Mo's concubine. Lord Liu, seeing that Liu Yi still wanted to say something, Qin Fei immediately cut him off. Since the princess has this filial piety, why not satisfy her? At that time, I will also leave the palace to visit His Majesty. The emperor was ill, and the most powerful person in the palace was Qin Fei. Since she had spoken, no one could stop her. Sweeping a cold glance at Qin Fei, Mu Xuexin ordered, "Men, bring Imperial Father away. Furthermore, no one is allowed to enter my princess manor during this period of time." She was referring to Imperial concubine Qin by miscellaneous people. Qin Fei's expression changed, but she quickly recovered, and her lips curled into a vicious smile. "Mu Xuexin, I'll let you be complacent for a while longer. 3 days from now will be the day of your death." At this moment, in the courtyard of the Qi family, Yin Luofeng sat quietly in a pavilion, listening to Qi Su's report. Miss Yin, although generally brought his men to cause a ruckus, he still managed to sell out all the medicinal liquids and the 3 puppets. Furthermore, someone really brought the meteoric iron core. Meteoric iron core? Yin Luofeng's eyes suddenly moved. With this meteoric iron core, she could forge puppets similar to Azure Wings. Chapter 1861. Apart from that, did anything else happen? Yin Luofeng took the meteoric iron heart from Qi Su and asked with a smile. Qi Su was silent for a while. He seemed to be worried. "Are you worried about the 4th princess?" Yin Luofeng could tell what she was thinking at once. Qi Su nodded. "I didn't want to see her so soon, but I heard that concubine Qin wanted to marry her to Qi Mo as a concubine. I'm a little worried. With Mu Xuexin's temperament, how could she endure such grievances?" "Then let me ask you, is there a way to see Mu Xuexin?" Yin Luofeng tapped on the table and asked. "There are 2 princesses' residences in the imperial city. One is in the palace, and the other is outside the palace. However, she rarely stays there. So, if you want to see her, you can only go to the palace. With his current status, he couldn't enter the palace. Those people wouldn't let him see Mu Xuexin either." Second young master. At this moment, a guard hurried over. Of course, this guard wasn't from the Qi family. He had been following Qi Su for a long time. "What's the matter?" Qi Su frowned and asked. "The 4th princess is here. She wants to see second young master." "Mua." Qi Su's body trembled. A ray of light flashed across his eyes. His heart was filled with joy, but he tried his best to restrain himself. "How did Mua know that I'm in the Qi family? Let her in." "Yes, second young master." The guard left slowly. After a while, Mu Xuexin was led in by the guard. She saw the tall young man from afar, and her clear eyes were filled with emotion. The young man was still so handsome after a year, but she felt as though she had been separated from him for a lifetime. "Qi Su." She stopped not far from Qi Su and stared at him, as if she was looking at her entire world. "Mu, you're here?" Qi Su didn't ask how she knew that he was in the Qi family. There was no need to ask. The young man's eyes were filled with the young girl in front of him. "Qi Su, you shouldn't have come back." Mu Xuexin smiled bitterly. "The situation in the imperial city is unstable now, and father is bedridden. I can't help you. This time, I came back to seek justice for myself." A cold glint flashed across Qi Su's eyes. "The Qi family is where it is today because of my master. I will never hand over the world that my master conquered to the Qi family." Mu Xuexin felt a lump in her throat. She suddenly felt that Qi Su had grown a lot in the past year. "Miss Yun?" Suddenly, she saw the woman sitting in the pavilion. A smile appeared on her pretty face, and her eyes were filled with gratitude. "I heard that there was a lady following Qi Su. I immediately guessed that it was you. Thank you for saving me that day. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would have been buried on that Spirit River mountain." "Ah, Sister Mu, you're here." Mu Xuexin didn't wait for Yun Luofeng's reply before a small figure rushed over. Qiling's body was soft, and her smile was very sweet. She looked innocent and pure. She was no longer as timid as when she first met Yin Luofeng. In the end, Yin Luofeng put down the book in his hand and slightly raised his head. His evil eyes slowly landed on Mu Xuexin's body. The Emperor of Drifting Wind Country is bedridden? I wonder what illness it is. Mu Xuexin's eyes darkened. He has missed my mother for many years, causing him to fall ill from worry. However, because of those quacks in the Imperial Hospital, not only did he not recover, he has even fallen into a coma. Chapter 1862. I wonder if you can bring me to see him. Yin Luofeng narrowed her eyes as a glint flashed across them. If she could defeat her enemy without lifting a finger, she would try not to do it herself. As such, if she could cure the Emperor of Drifting Wind Country, she would not have to deal with the Qi family or consort Qin. Mu Xuexin was stunned and shook her head with a bitter smile. Miss Yun, my father cannot be cured. You should not get involved in this. Otherwise, you'll be dragged into this. She and her father would not be able to escape death anyway. Why should she drag an innocent person into this? Especially since this innocent person was not only Qi Ling's master, but also her savior. Sister Mu, please bring my master to see him. My master is very powerful. She will definitely be able to cure his majesty. To Qi Ling, Yin Luofeng was an omnipotent god. There was nothing in this world that Yin Luofeng could not do. Mu Xuexin helplessly smiled at Qi Ling's expectant gaze. She raised her head to look at Yin Luofeng and said, I've already brought my father out of the palace. I can bring you to see him. If he can't be cured, then you can leave quietly. If they were in the palace, it would be very inconvenient with so many eyes watching. Fortunately, she had already brought father out of the palace. Even if Yin Luofeng could not cure him, no one would say anything. Let's go. Yin Luofeng closed the book in his hand and said calmly. Now, Mu Xuexin was stunned and asked in surprise. Yin Luofeng glanced at her indifferently. That's right. Is it inconvenient for you? That's not it. Mu Xuexin said helplessly. Then come with me. The princess residence. Silence reigned. 2 guards stood guard outside the east wing. When the 2 guards saw Mu Xuexin walking over, they cupped their fists respectfully. Your Highness, I have brought someone to see father. Stand guard here and don't let anyone disturb him. Yes, Your Highness. The 2 guards stood guard at the door. Miss Yin, these guards were left to me by father. They are absolutely loyal to me. You don't have to worry about them telling anyone about what happened here. Mu Xuexin opened the door after saying this. It's fine if he cannot be cured. Anyway, she didn't have much hope. Inside the door, on the bed, the man's face was pale. His rather handsome face was filled with pain, and his breathing was extremely weak. It was as if it could disappear at any moment. When Yin Luofeng saw the man lying on the bed, his face darkened. Miss Yin, what's wrong? Mu Xuexin noticed the change in Yin Luofeng and asked in confusion. Yin Luofeng frowned. Who fed him the medicine today? The medicine was fed by a palace maid. Is there a problem? Mu Xuexin's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that there was something wrong with the soup today? Today, among the medicine he took, there was a spirit herb called dream revival grass. Yin Luofeng's eyes darkened bit by bit. This dream grass's medicinal properties are very strong. After taking it, you will die in your sleep within 3 days. Dream grass? Mu Xuexin's face turned deathly pale. How did you know that Imperial Father consumed the dream revival grass? He has the aura of the dream revival grass on him. In reality, since Imperial Physician you dared to feed the Emperor with the dream revival grass, this spirit herb must be colorless and odorless. After taking it, there was no way to detect it. Yin Luofeng's mental energy was too strong, and the dream revival grass was a kind of mental-type spirit herb. That was why she could sense it through her mental energy. Chapter 1863. Of course, she would not tell this to Mu Xuexin, and Mu Xuexin was not a doctor, so she naturally did not know that the dream grass was colorless and tasteless. Then what should we do? Mu Xuexin's body was a little weak, and she tightly bit her lips. I originally thought that father would be able to accompany me for a few more months. I did not expect, actually. Yin Luofeng paused, and continued, "Even without this dream grass, he only has 2 months left to live." Chisu had not said a word since he entered the room. His hand supported Mu Shuishin's trembling body, afraid that she would not be able to withstand such a blow. "Master," Qi Ling hugged Yin Luofeng's 2 legs and looked at her pitifully. "Do you have a way to save the emperor?" Yin Luofeng stared deeply at the man lying on the bed. His illness was originally not a big problem. With the help of elixirs, it would not take long for him to recover. But Yin Luofeng paused. "I don't know who gave him the prescription, but the heavenly spirit ginseng in the elixirs was replaced with ginseng from the swamp, so that not only did his illness not recover, but it dragged down his entire body." Mu Shueshin forced herself to calm down and asked, "What's the difference between these two?" "The difference is that the heavenly spirit ginseng in the swamp is infected with the swamp's poison, and it is difficult to distinguish it from the normal heavenly spirit ginseng. This poison will not take his life immediately, but it will gradually worsen his body. With the heavenly spirit ginseng and the dream grass, how could Mu Shueshin not know that there must be someone who wanted to harm father? Qin Fei, it must be her. Other than this woman, Mu Shueshin could not think of anyone else." "Miss Yun," Mu Shueshin suddenly knelt in front of Yin Luofeng and begged, "Since you saw father's illness, then you must have a way to cure him. Please help me save father. As long as you save him, I am willing to listen to your orders for the rest of my life." Dignity? What was that? Was it more important than father's life? Not to mention losing her dignity, she was willing to exchange her life for his. Seeing Mu Shuishin kneeling on the ground, Chi Su also hurriedly knelt in front of Yin Luofeng. "Master, you must have a way." Because there were no outsiders here, he no longer called Yin Luofeng Miss Yin. Instead, he called her Master. Qi Ling blinked her eyes and knelt down to the ground. "Master, please help Sister Mu." Yin Luofeng looked at the 3 people kneeling in front of him, then turned his gaze to Mu Shuishin, whose face was full of tears. "I didn't say I wouldn't save him." Mu Shuishin was overjoyed. She raised her head and looked at Yin Luofeng with surprise in her eyes. "Miss Yin, are you willing to help me save my imperial father?" "Saving him is also helping myself." Yin Luofeng's voice paused for a moment before he continued. "Besides, Qi Su and Qi Ling have asked me for help. How can I not save them? Even if it was for Qi Ling's sake, she would not leave him in the lurch. However, right now, the poison of the dream revival grass has already taken effect. Within the poison of the dream revival grass, he will see the person he wants to see the most. Moreover, he will be entangled with her for 3 days. After 3 days, he will immediately bleed from his 7 orifices and die." Yin Luofeng rubbed his chin and said in a low voice, "So, I must first cure him of this poison. Miss Yin, if you need any spiritual medicine, just tell me. I will go get it for you." Mu Shuishin's face was filled with joy. In the beginning, she did not have much hope. But now that she saw that Yin Luofeng could easily diagnose her father's illness and even tell him medicinal herbs he had taken, Mu Shuishin's heart was filled with hope. Chapter 1864. She was like a drowning person clutching at the last straw, unwilling to let go. "All right," Yin Luofeng nodded. "I'll write down the spiritual herbs I need for you. Go find them for me. Of course, the sooner the better. I'm afraid he won't be able to hold on for long." After Yin Luofeng finished speaking, Mu Shuishin had someone bring over a brush and paper. Yin Luofeng held the brush in his hand and quickly wrote down the medicinal ingredients needed for the detoxification. After you find these spiritual herbs, boil them with 100 buckets of water and let him take a medicinal bath. After a day and night, the poison of the dream revival grass will be completely detoxified. After handing the prescription to Mu Shuishin, Yin Luofeng wrote down another piece of paper. "This is the prescription to detoxify the swamp poison. However, it's not a medicinal bath. Just feed it to him. 2 days later, the swamp poison will be completely detoxified, and he will wake up immediately." Yin Luofeng's hand paused as he continued. "Lastly, I'll write a prescription for conditioning the body. When your royal father wakes up, brew the medicine and feed it to him. In less than half a month, your royal father's body will completely recover. Mu Shuixin gripped the prescription tightly, her eyes filled with unspeakable gratitude. If Yin Luofeng could really cure her royal father, she would be the benefactor of drifting wind country. Also, Yin Luofeng paused, his gaze sweeping across Mu Shuixin. Since there are people who want to harm her for safety's sake, you should stay close to the emperor for the next few days to avoid giving them another chance to act. This time, even if Yin Luofeng did not say anything, Mu Shuixin knew what to do. Thinking of those people who wanted to harm her royal father for the sake of power, a cold light shot out from her eyes. I understand, Miss Yin. Thank you so much. Regardless of whether my royal father really recovers, I will use my entire life to repay your kindness. Yin Luofeng smiled faintly and turned to look at Qi Su. Are you staying here or leaving with me? Qi Su was startled. He really wanted to stay and accompany Mu Shuixin, but in the end, he shook his head. There are many things I need to deal with in the spirit-gathering medicinal hall. Furthermore, a complicated look appeared in his eyes. If I stay, I will definitely bring trouble to Mu-er. If concubine Sheen's people knew that he was in the princess palace, they would definitely send people over. At that time, if the matter of him treating the emperor was exposed, they would definitely attack again. To be on the safe side, it was better not to see the emperor for the next few days. Thinking up to here, Qi Su looked at Mu Shuixin once more with a trace of reluctance in his lowered eyes. Little Ling, let's go. Okay, big brother. There was an innocent smile on Qi Ling's face. She seemed to have thought of something as she tilted her head and looked at Mu Shuixin with her big, clear eyes. Big sister Mu, we'll come and see you after my big brother finishes his business. Mu Shuixin smiled and did not ask them to stay. Right now, all her thoughts were on the emperor. How could she be in the mood to talk about love? Moreover, Qi Su was not wrong. With the current situation, it was not suitable for them to stay here. Qi Su held Qi Ling's hand and slowly walked out of the door. When they walked out of the room, he paused for a moment and pursed his lips in deep thought. Even though he did not say a word, Yin Luofeng could still see the worry on his face for Mu Shuixin. I don't know if we can get through these 3 days unscathed. 3 days later, Her Majesty will wake up. At that time, no one in the drifting wind country will be able to hurt her. Chapter 1865. If you are worried, I can lend you 2 puppets to protect her in secret. Yin Luofeng was silent for a moment before she spoke slowly. She was never stingy with her own people. Since Qi Su was working for her, she would never mistreat him. Thank you. Qi Su's voice was choked with emotions, but his eyes were filled with gratitude. Helping Mu-er is equivalent to helping me. In the future, as long as you need me, I will not hesitate to go through fire and water for you. Yin Luofeng raised her eyebrows. Her expression was proud and arrogant. She had an insufferably arrogant demeanor. I've said it before. My goal from the beginning has been the entire mainland. And you, as someone by my side, must follow me to the top and be crowned king. So you don't need to thank me. You just need to help me take care of everything. The woman's voice was crisp and sweet, but it easily provoked Qi Su's heart. Take over the mainland? Be crowned king? Who else but her? This was the first time Qi Su felt his blood boiling. Perhaps the only thing he felt fortunate about in this life was picking him up that day. Also, what about the people I asked you to find for me? Yin Luofeng frowned. The Wind Cloud continent was only so big. Where would Yun Xiao and Ji Jiutian be? I'm sending people to look for them. I believe that there will be news in the future. At this point, Qi Su felt a little helpless. He had been helping Yin Luofeng look for people for a very long time, but to no avail. However, he was not going to give up. After all, Yin Luofeng had only asked this to him. Yin Luofeng narrowed her eyes and gazed at the blue sky not far away. An inexplicable ray of light appeared in her demonic and cold eyes. She was determined. I understand. Now that you have more or less the Qi family in your hands, you can send more people to look for him. You must find him. Yes. Qi Su responded respectfully. However, he was puzzled. What relationship did the 2 men have with Miss Yun for her to think so highly of them? Thousands of miles away from Qin Mountain, lofty and precipitous, The originally azure sky was now covered by dark clouds. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. In the void, two men stood back to back. Their clothes fluttered in the wind. The two men were equally matched. One of the men had black hair and red clothes that fluttered in the wind. There was a cinnabar between his eyebrows, and he looked extremely charming. However, this man looked so demonic. The corners of his lips were slightly raised, revealing a cold intent. Opposite her was a man dressed in black. In front of such a devilishly handsome man, it did not cover up his brilliance. Instead, it made him shine even brighter. His handsome face was like that of a deity, instantly causing people to hold their breaths. His eyes were cold and sharp like an eagle's, appearing extremely deep and cold in the darkness. Ghost Emperor, a smile flashed across Jutian's phoenix-like eyes. I never thought that I would need your help at this time. Yin Zhao's face was expressionless, and he was cold like a god of death. His aura was imposing as he looked down on everyone. The people she hates, I destroy. The people she cares about, I protect. You don't have to thank me. If you want to thank someone, thank him. Logically speaking, Ji Jiotian's eyes lit up every time he saw Yin Luofeng. He should have treated him as a rival in love. But Ji Jiotian was different from Bai Su. Bai Su did not have deep feelings for Yin Luofeng. He only fancied Yin Luofeng's ability and wanted to obtain her. In reality, he was hurting Yin Luofeng every time. Chapter 1866. That was why Yin Xiao wanted to kill him time and time again. Even though Ji Jiotian liked Yin Luofeng, he never did anything to hurt her. On top of that, he saved her multiple times. How could he bear to see her sad? Plus, so what if this man was his rival in love? He had faith in his Feng heir, and he had faith in himself. Nobody can steal his woman. Ji Jiotian grinned. Ghost Emperor, in my entire life, I have never admired anyone. You are the only one. Based on how much he trusted and loved Yin Luofeng, how many people in this world could do that? Same to you. Yun Xiao coldly replied with two words, a pair of sharp and murderous eyes looking at the crowd surrounding the two of them. Ghost Emperor, other than the first time we fought, we have never fought. How about? His smile was peerless and extraordinarily beautiful. How about we see who can kill more people? Do you dare? Other than Yin Luofeng, Yin Xiao was cold to everyone. Therefore, after Ji Jiotian spoke, he used his actions to prove his decision. More and more people surrounded them. But under his sharp sword, blood flowed like a river. Killing people? To him, this was nothing out of the ordinary. Just like when he first met the young girl, he told her that before he met her, he only knew how to kill people. It was her appearance that turned into the only ray of light in his life and lit up his entire world. When he thought of that peerlessly beautiful woman with her evil and unbridled actions, the corners of Yin Zhao's mouth couldn't help but slowly curl upwards, forming a shallow and imperceptible smile. It seemed like he had to get rid of these people as soon as possible. Then, he would be able to reunite with her, no matter how many people surrounded them. How could they fight against these two men? No matter how many people came, they would only die. Ha! Ji Jiotian laughed wildly. His jet black hair fluttered in the wind, looking both arrogant and evil. Ghost Emperor, I never thought that one day I would join hands with you to fight against the enemy. But this kind of feeling makes this seat very happy. So what if they were rivals in love? As rivals in love, he couldn't stop himself from admiring Yin Xiao. With a man like this by Yin Luofeng's side in this lifetime, why would he be worried? Sometimes, liking someone isn't about possessing them. It's about helping them. So from the very beginning, he had never thought of snatching her to his side. All of them collapsed. Fresh blood flowed all over the mountains and fields, creating a glaring red. Stop! Suddenly, a tender voice sounded. Ji Jiotian did not stop. He raised his saber, and the last person fell to the ground. It was a red-clothed girl. Her skin was as white as jade, and she was beautiful and moving. She bit her lips and looked at Ji Jiotian with pain and sorrow. Ji Jiotian, do you really want to do this to me? What's wrong with me? Do you dislike me that much? Ji Jiotian raised his eyes slightly and looked down at the young girl's bitter face. He sneered. You're not good at all. In my eyes, even a beggar is more outstanding than you. The man's voice was heartless, and his gaze was as if he was looking down on ants. The young girl's heart instantly shattered into several pieces. Perhaps she didn't expect Ji Jiuqian to say such heartless words. Ji Jiuqian, I really like you. I've liked you since the first time we met. She vaguely remembered that a few months ago, she saw this man in the garden. At that time, he stood under the peach blossom tree. His red clothes were peerless, and his looks could topple cities. Chapter 1867. She had never seen such a peerlessly beautiful man before and was instantly mesmerized. However, his eyes were filled with arrogance, and condescension. But that one look was enough to make her fall, and she would never be able to walk out of it for the rest of her life. For your father's sake, I will spare your life. Ji Jiuqian raised his phoenix eyes and spoke in an arrogant tone. However, even if you can avoid death, you cannot escape punishment. In order to make me marry you, you sent people to kill me. This debt cannot be forgiven. The young girl's sorrowful eyes were suddenly filled with fear, and she subconsciously took a few steps back. You, what do you want? Of course. Ji Jiuqian laughed impudently. To destroy you. The young girl's body trembled. She wanted to escape, but her body seemed to be pressed down by a huge rock, and she could not move. You should know that I have never shown tender feelings for the fairer sex, especially towards a woman with delusions. Ji Jiuqian's eyes swept over her, and his fingers gently pinched the young girl's chin. His voice was bloodthirsty. I wonder if you would dare to do this after your face is destroyed. Just as the girl was about to beg for mercy, she felt pain on her cheek. Blood slowly flowed down her white skin. She was in so much pain that tears almost flowed down her cheeks. She shouted in panic, Ji Jiuqian, what did I do wrong? Is it wrong to love you? If you weren't unwilling to listen to my father and marry me, would I have sent people to kill you? However, she never thought that Ji Jiuqian would have this kind of power. And the man next to him was equally enigmatic and had extraordinary power. The young girl bit her lips. In reality, when she first saw the man that Ji Jiuqian called the Ghost Emperor, she was also shocked. However, she had fallen in love with Ji Jiuqian first, and because of this, she only wanted Ji Jiuqian. However, she had a noble status and was peerlessly beautiful. Ji Jiuqian did not like her, because the woman he liked was not her type. This did not mean that any man would not love her. Even though she loved Ji Jiuqian deeply, she could not care less for the sake of her own survival. This, sir. The young girl bit her lips tightly as she turned to look at Yin Xiao. I beg you, ask Ji Jiuqian to let me go. I don't want to die, and I don't want to be disfigured. As long as you let me go, I'm willing to offer everything I have to you. But Yin Xiao did not even look at him, as though she did not see his existence. What? Since you failed to seduce me, you want to seduce someone else? Ji Jiuqian smiled sinisterly. The young girl was a little dumbfounded. Was Ji Jiuqian unhappy because she was talking to another man? Could it be that he actually had a place for her, his heart? Was it because she had pushed him too hard that he became so furious? That must be it. This knowledge filled the young girl with joy, and she hurriedly explained, Jiuqian, I only like you. I was just trying to survive. Don't misunderstand. Before she could finish speaking, Ji Jiuqian's fingers exerted force. The young girl's tears instantly fell, her eyes filled with grievance. If you want to seduce a man, you need to find a good partner. Who do you think you are? The Ghost Emperor would not want such a good woman like my Xiao Feng. Would he be tempted by you? Ji Jiuqian's brows were filled with hostility. The young girl's attempt to seduce Yin Xiao made him even angrier. He would never allow anyone to destroy Yin Luofeng's happiness. He knew that Yin Xiao would not be tempted. Yin Xiao had frowned slightly because of Ji Jiuqian's word about my Xiao Feng. However, when she heard the last sentence, her expression improved. Chapter 1868. Jiuqian, since you lack a man so much, I don't mind helping you. Ji Jiuqian's anger is very strong, and he has reached his limit with this woman. Also, do you really think that I'm afraid of your father? I want to find your father, because I wanted to cooperate with him. Since that's the case, I no longer need to let you go for your father's sake." As Ji Jiuqian let go, the young girl's body softened and she slowly fell to the ground. Her face was filled with despair and pain, as if she understood that Ji Jiuqian would never like her again. However, her heart was filled with jealousy when she thought about Lin Feng'er that Ji Jiuqian mentioned. Why is it that, as a woman, that woman can receive the deep love of an outstanding man and the protection of another man? This is too unfair. Ji Jiuqian should be protecting me. That woman took everything away from me. Yin Xiao didn't look at the young girl, but his senses were very sensitive, and he naturally felt the young girl's hatred. Instantly, his expression turned cold. This woman can't possibly hate Ji Jiuqian, and she also can't hate me. Then, the only person she hates is Lin Feng'er. You've caused trouble for Lin Feng. Yin Zhao's voice was very cold and emotionless. Ji Jiuqian finally reacted and smiled nonchalantly. Previously, I planned to let her live, but now, I still think that letting her go will only cause trouble. Women were always troublesome. Of course, his Lin Feng'er was an exception. No. The young girl widened her eyes in fear. She opened her mouth to beg for mercy, but she felt a hand strangling her neck. With a sudden pull, her body softened and fell to the ground. She was lifeless. Even in death, the young girl didn't understand why Ji Jiuqian would kill her so cruelly. She only showed a hint of hatred and didn't do anything. He just said that he would let her live. Ji Jiuqian took out a handkerchief and wiped his hand. He then threw it on the ground, and his beautiful yet demonic eyes turned to the man next to him. "Let's split up and find her. Since Yin Luofeng is here, they must find her no matter what." "Okay." Yin Zhao's voice was as cold and callous as ever. Her meaning was concise and shocking. Then, without waiting for Ji Jiuqian to say another word, the eagle-like figure quickly shot into the distance and disappeared without a trace. Ji Jiuqian stared coldly at the young maiden, who could not be more dead, and raised the corners of his lips eerily. "Initially, I had wanted to spare your life, but who asked me to accidentally expose Xiao Feng'er? Your Jian clan is the #1 clan in the kingdom of Tianqi. With Lin Feng'er's current strength, I'm not sure if he can handle it. Therefore, I can only kill you first to avoid trouble for Lin Feng'er. As for the Jian family," Ji Jiuqian narrowed his eyes, "if they don't know what's good for them, I don't mind exterminating them. Kingdom of Tianqi, the Jian family." The man who had been sitting cross-legged in the room suddenly opened his eyes. His face was pale, and cold sweat dripped down his forehead. 5 elders. His voice fell slowly. Then, an old figure appeared out of thin air and stood in front of the middle-aged man. He cupped his fists respectfully and said, "Master, what are your orders? Tell me honestly, where did Tian'er go?" Chapter 1869. The 5 old men were stunned, and a trace of surprise flashed across their aged faces. "Master, the eldest lady. Tell me the truth. Where did she go?" The middle-aged man's expression was extremely ugly as he gritted his teeth. The 5 elders realized that they could no longer hide the truth and said helplessly, "Master Ji was unwilling to marry into the Jian family and even found an excuse to leave." The eldest lady was not convinced and chased after him with her men. "Idiot!" The middle-aged man slammed his fist on the table angrily with an ugly look on his face. "Patriarch, did something happen to the young miss?" The 5 elders were slightly stunned when they saw the middle-aged man's expression and asked worriedly. The middle-aged man's body trembled, and he closed his eyes. After a long time, he opened them again and said, "All the members of the Jian clan have a connection. Just now, I felt that the connection was broken. In other words, the odds are against her." "What?" The 5 elders turned pale with fright. Every member of the Jian family had a connection in their bloodline after they were born. Only the members of the Jian family knew about this. Outsiders were not aware of this. If the master said that the eldest lady was in danger, then something must have happened to her. The 5 elders were filled with regret at the thought of this. They should not have allowed the eldest lady to chase after Ji Jiuqian. Instead, they should have stopped her at all costs. Master, should we bring our men to chase after Ji Jiuqian? Chase? The middle-aged man laughed coldly. To be honest, I don't know how powerful Ji Jiuqian is. Even if we ignore his strength, his potential is limitless. Losing a daughter is one thing, but I can't afford to lose the entire Jian family. Then what do you want, master? Fifth uncle asked after a moment of silence. The middle-aged man's eyes flickered. Tian'er has a fiery temperament. No wonder Ji Jiuqian doesn't like him. How about this? Letting her marry him. The third lady? The five elders were shocked, but the third lady is a concubine's daughter. Would Ji Jiuqian marry a concubine's daughter? In the windy continent, the concept of concubine's inheritance was not very strong. However, the five elders did not think that Ji Jiuqian would marry a concubine's daughter. Aside from Tian'er, only second brother, Yi is a concubine's daughter. However, second brother is going to marry the second prince. Since that's the case, I can only let Er do it. With Er's quiet personality, Ji Jiuqian will definitely like him. A trace of calculation flashed through the middle-aged man's eyes. Apart from the royal family, all the young experts were also his targets. So what if he sacrificed some of his daughters for these people? In any case, daughters were meant for marriage alliances. It was a pity that Jianan was a daughter of a concubine who was not favored by him. He had never thought of using Jianan for marriage in the first place. Now that he was forced into a corner, he would take out any daughter that he could use. Fortunately, the middle-aged man did not see Yin Xiao. Otherwise, Yin Xiao would have been part of his scheme. Five elders in the entire kingdom of Tianqi. Our Jian family's daughters are the most beautiful. These beautiful daughters are the sharp weapons in my hands. How can the heroes of the world overcome the barrier of beauties? No man can escape the temptation of beauty. Only the most outstanding man in the world is worthy of the Jian family's daughter. The middle-aged man's expression gradually changed, as if he was not affected by the death of his eldest daughter. Even if he felt heartache at the beginning, it was only because he had lost a bargaining chip. He did not really feel heartache for his daughter. The five elders laughed bitterly. They always felt that Ji Jiuqian would not fancy the third lady. Chapter 1870. Drifting Wind Country. Princess Residence. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. In these 3 days, the princess residence was peaceful. Even Qin Fei, who had always been against Mu Xuexin, did not come to disturb her. However, this tranquility was broken after 3 days. A group of people came to the princess residence with Qin Fei at their head. The group was led by Qin Fei, and they charged over. No matter how the people of the princess residence tried to stop them, they couldn't do anything. What's going on? Mu Xuexin heard the commotion outside and walked out of the residence. She immediately saw the cold expression on Qin Fei's face, and she couldn't help but frown. Mu Xuexin, how dare you? Qin Fei roared angrily, causing Mu Xuexin's eardrums to hurt. She rubbed her aching ears with an expression of dissatisfaction. Did you come here to disturb my father's rest? Qin Fei's face was filled with grief as she pointed a finger at Mu Xuexin. You still dare to mention His Majesty. I've had people pay attention to your princess residence during this period of time. Why didn't you report His Majesty's death? Or do you feel guilty? Mu Xuexin's face darkened. Qin Fei, there's no proof. Aren't you afraid of suffering the consequences of your actions? In reality, Mu Xuexin knew why Qin Fei had come the moment she appeared. However, when she thought of what Yin Luofeng had said, a trace of killing intent appeared in her cold eyes. Princess, you still dare to argue? Qin Fei was heartbroken. I heard from Imperial Physician Yu that you went to the pharmacy to get a dream return grass. What do you want it for? If you really have a clear conscience, why don't you let us see His Majesty? I've already said that His Majesty is resting and no one is allowed to disturb him. Mu Xuexin straightened her chest and stood in front of Qin Fei. She stubbornly raised her chin with a trace of coldness in her eyes. The ministers didn't believe Qin Fei's words at first, but now that they saw Mu Xuexin blocking them from entering, could it be that something had really happened to the emperor? At this moment, the ministers panicked. If His Majesty had really died, then drifting wind country would definitely be in chaos. Princess, an old minister took 2 steps forward. This official believes in the princess' innocence. Princess, please let us see His Majesty. Mu Xuexin furrowed her brows. Miss Yin had said that her father would wake up today, but it would take time for him to wake up. During this period of time, no one was allowed to disturb his father. I've already said that no one is allowed in. Mu Xuexin roared. When Imperial Father wakes up, I'll let you see him. Wake up? Qin Fei laughed coldly in her heart. His Majesty would probably never wake up again. It seems like the princess is feeling guilty and doesn't dare to let us see His Majesty. She's afraid that we'll find out that you poisoned him. Qin Fei's eyes were filled with tears. Poor His Majesty loved you, but you plotted against him like this. Princess, please make way. If His Majesty is really fine, why not let us see him? General Li sneered and stepped forward to attack Mu Xuexin. At this moment, the 2 divine puppets who had been secretly protecting Mu Xuexin descended from the sky and landed on the ground with a loud bang. Their burly bodies blocked the group's path. Mu Xuexin was a little stunned. The aura of these 2 people was very unusual, but she was sure that she didn't know these 2 people. There, General Li was stunned. He suddenly sensed something and quickly retracted his outstretched hand. They're puppets from the Elixir Gathering Hall. Chapter 1871. Puppet? Qi Su. Mu Xuexin also knew about the Spirit Gathering Medicinal Hall. Now that she heard that these were the puppets of the Spirit Gathering Medicinal Hall, her heart was filled with warmth. Whoever dares to step in will be killed without mercy. She quickly came back to her senses, and her cold voice resounded in the courtyard, carrying with it an austere aura. The 2 guards were originally ordered to protect Mu Xuexin. Now that they heard her command, they immediately stepped forward and stared coldly at the group of people in front of them. Qin Fei was a bit annoyed. She had underestimated this girl. She had actually borrowed a puppet from Qi Su. It seemed like she already knew that this would happen. Unfortunately, because she did not place Mu Xuexin in her eyes, she did not bring the imperial family's experts. Mu Xuexin, you plotted against His Majesty. You deserve death. Qin Fei's eyes spun as she coldly said, Don't think that you'll be safe with these puppets. Don't forget, the royal clan doesn't lack experts. Do you think these puppets can protect you? This consort advises you to confess to your crimes as soon as possible so that you don't implicate others. The other people she was referring to was Qi Su. She was very clear about Mu Xuexin's feelings for Qi Su. For Qi Su, she would definitely bow down and admit her guilt. However, facing concubine Qin's threat, Mu Xuexin only sneered. You said that I plotted against Imperial Father, but where's the evidence? Just based on your one-sided statement? I also said that you wanted to harm my father, but in the end, you framed me. What nonsense are you saying? Consort Qin flew into a rage out of humiliation. This consort has deep feelings for His Majesty. How could I plot against him? Even my son is filial, unlike an ingrate like you. Only you would plot against her. Mu Xuexin's lips curled up as disdain appeared in her eyes. Then why are you so sure that father has passed away? This, concubine Zither sneered. Of course it's because I was worried about His Majesty, so I sent someone to investigate, but found that His Majesty had already passed away. Mu Xuexin tilted her head. Then can I ask Imperial Concubine Qin, what is the reason for my murder? How would this Empress know what reason you have? Anyway, people like you never need a reason to kill. Qin Fei had a look that said, I'm sure you killed the Emperor. Looking at her shameless face, a smile appeared on Mu Xuexin's face, and the killing intent in her heart intensified. Princess, if you are not humble, then open the door. If His Majesty is still alive, we will leave this place. The Grand Tutor furrowed his brows, and there was a hint of anger in his eyes. Qin Fei's face was filled with pride. Since the Emperor was already dead, Mu Xuexin was destined to be buried with him. No matter how she tried to stop him, she still couldn't escape the crime. But, just as Qin Fei was feeling pleased with herself, a deep and magnetic voice sounded from within the room. Let them in. In that instant, Qin Fei's face stiffened and her eyes widened as if she was hallucinating. His Majesty's voice? Impossible. Even if His Majesty was not poisoned to death, he would definitely not wake up. At the same time, the ministers present also heard that voice. Among these people, some were pleasantly surprised, some were in disbelief, and some were panicking. It's His Majesty. It's really His Majesty's voice. So I didn't hear wrong. His Majesty has woken up? Just when everyone was filled with different emotions, Mu Shuixin had already pushed open the door. He saw the man lying on the bed with his eyes open. At this moment, Mu Shuixin's voice was choked with emotions. All the grievances she had suffered over the past year had erupted at this moment. Chapter 1872. Father. Mu Zhintian looked at her affectionately, as usual. His eyes were filled with love, but she felt that it was unreal. Shuixin, I'm sorry. Mu Shuixin finally couldn't control her emotions anymore. She rushed into Mu Zhintian's arms and burst into tears. Father, you're fine. That's great. You're finally fine. I thought I would never see you again in this life. It was Yun Luofeng. If it wasn't for Yun Luofeng, she would have met her father in the underworld. Her appearance had not only saved her father, but also saved her. Imperial concubine Qin froze at the door. She was drenched in cold sweat. She couldn't even move her feet, as if she was rooted to the ground. Imperial concubine Qin, didn't you say that His Majesty had passed away? And you said that it was the princess' fault? What's going on now? One of the loyal officials shouted in a stern voice, his face filled with anger. Imperial concubine Qin's face was pale, and her lips were trembling. She had calculated so much, but she didn't expect His Majesty to wake up. It's over. This time, everything was over for her. Mu Zhintian heard the official's words, and his sharp gaze fell on Imperial concubine Qin. Imperial concubine Qin, shouldn't you explain to me what's going on? I've only been sick for a while. How can you bully my precious daughter like this? Your Majesty plop. Imperial concubine Qin knelt on the ground. Her face was covered in tears, and her expression was pitiful. I didn't do it on purpose. Someone purposely used me to frame you. I'm innocent. Then, she looked at Mu Shuixin. Your Highness, it's all because I didn't trust others. Please forgive me. Beg for mercy? Mu Shuixin smiled coldly. Wasn't it too late? Imperial concubine Qin, you said that you were wronged, but what if you want me to be Qi Mo's concubine? Bang! When Mu Shuixin said that, Mu Zhintian was furious. He clenched his fist and slammed it on the side of the bed. Because his body had not fully recovered, this punch did not have much strength, but everyone in the room was so scared that they did not even dare to breathe. It seems that a lot of things have happened while I was sick. My beloved daughter is only fit to be a concubine? As the last word fell, Qin Fei felt a powerful aura lock onto her. She was so scared that her legs went soft, and she almost fell to the ground. Your Majesty, I didn't make such a decision. Someone must have framed me. Also, Mu Shuixin smiled. In front of all the officials, you framed me for dating Qi when my father was seriously ill. You even claimed that I went to find you to bestow a marriage. What makes you think that I would like someone like Qi? Cold sweat had already appeared on Qin Fei's forehead. Her body was weak, and her gaze was unfocused. Mu Zhintian clenched his fists, and the blue veins on his forehead bulged. He wished he could strangle this woman alive. Shuixin and Qi Su are engaged. Or do you think that Qi Su isn't as outstanding as Qi Mo? She wants to marry Qi Mo instead of Qi Su? Do you think others are stupid, or are you stupid? Hearing this, the officials did not dare to say anything. Didn't His Majesty mean that they were stupid? Who told them to believe Qin Fei's words? Your Majesty. Chapter 1873. Qin Fei wanted to defend herself, but was interrupted by Mu Shuixin again. When father was seriously ill, you used filial piety to force me to go to the Ling River Mountain to find a medicine, but you didn't give me the imperial experts. Fortunately, I met Miss Yun and she saved my life. Otherwise, I would have died on the Ling River Mountain. Mu Zhintian's face became even uglier. He didn't expect that his daughter almost died on the Ling River Mountain. What kind of place was the Ling River Mountain? There were countless powerful spirit beasts there. If there were no experts, how could she leave safely? Qin Fei's behavior was equivalent to forcing his daughter to die. But Mu Jintian was very interested in Miss Yun, and he was even more grateful for her help. Otherwise, even if he woke up, he would be separated from his daughter. And Mu Xuexin continued as if she didn't see Qin Fei's increasingly pale face. There was no medicine on the Ling River Mountain. I didn't find it, so you framed me as a coward who didn't dare to go to the Ling River Mountain and said that I was an ingrate. Mu Jintian took a deep breath, and his heart ached as if it was being torn apart. What his daughter had suffered these days was not criticism. If it wasn't for her strong mind, she would have collapsed. Qin Fei, you really disappoint me. Mu Jintian slowly closed his eyes, and after a long time, he suddenly opened them with a murderous look in his eyes. Someone, take Qin Fei away and let her think about it, until she knows that she was wrong. Mu Jintian was obviously furious, but he didn't punish Qin Fei, but only let her think about it. Some of the officials who knew Mu Jintian's temper weren't shocked, but they knew that there must be a reason why His Majesty didn't punish Qin Fei. But Qin Fei didn't think so. She thought that she was going to die, but in the end, she only got to think about it. He didn't even put her in confinement. This surprise came too suddenly. Did His Majesty really love her? Did he deliberately let her go? All of you can leave. I will stay in the princess residence for the time being. Mu Jintian waved his hand and closed his eyes. He was really afraid that he couldn't control himself and would kill Qin Fei. Soon, all the courtiers left, leaving only Mu Jintian and his daughter in the room. Father, Mu Xuexin curled her lips. This Qin Fei has bad intentions. She was the one who caused you to be poisoned, and even your illness is related to her. If it wasn't for Miss Yun, you would have died long ago. Hearing this, Mu Jintian became even more curious about Yun Luofeng. It seems that I have to thank that Miss Yun of yours this time. When I have time, I will personally visit her to thank her. Mu Xuexin was a little annoyed. Imperial Father, you know what she has done. Why did you let her off? Xuexin, Mu Jintian sighed helplessly. Because I want to know whose son Mu Ran is. Mu Ran was concubine Qin's son and the only prince. Mu Xuexin was stunned. What did Father mean by that? Actually, before he fell ill, Father had already learned of one thing. Due to the years of worry and exhaustion, he has long been unable to have children. But this doesn't mean that Mu Ran isn't your son. Perhaps when you gave birth to Mu Ran, concubine Qin was pregnant. So, Mu Jintian smiled faintly. I sent someone to secretly take his blood and do a blood test. It turns out that I have no relationship with him. But before I had time to investigate, I was bedridden. Do you think that I will let her off after being cuckolded? Chapter 1874. He didn't punish Qin Fei for the time being because he wanted to know who was having an affair with Qin Fei. Imperial Father, you can also punish Qin Fei. What if that man exposed himself when he saw that Qin Fei was in danger? Mu Xuexin's eyes flickered and her voice was charming. This is a very risky method. If that man is afraid of death, would Qin Fei come out when she's in danger? Mu Jintian's eyes were cold. At that time, he would have definitely escaped. Xuexin, you must keep this matter a secret. When that man shows himself, I'll definitely make them wish they were dead. What he couldn't tolerate was what concubine Qin had done to his daughter in the past year. Thinking about the result of the blood test, Mu Jintian let out a deep sigh. No wonder he had never liked his youngest son. It was because they were not related by blood. No matter what, he could not bring himself to like him. On the contrary, Xuexin was only his daughter, but she was his darling. However, Mu Jintian's eyes flashed with sharpness. I won't punish Qin Fei openly, but I can do something in secret. Xuexin, don't worry. Imperial Father will avenge you. It was night, and the moonlight was like water. Qin Fei lay on the chaise lounge with a smile on her face. I've made so many mistakes in the past few days, but His Majesty still tolerated me. I must hold a very high position in his heart. Sooner or later, I'll be able to push that damn girl down. She picked up the teacup in front of her and was about to take a sip. Suddenly, there was a sound that caused the quilt in her hand to fall. Who? Bang! As soon as she finished speaking, the door was kicked open and a group of black-clothed men rushed in, punching and kicking Qin Fei. Who are you people? How dare you? I won't let you off. The sharp pain made Qin Fei scream even more furiously. Is it that bitch Mu Xuexin? She must have sent you guys. Go back and tell her to wait for me. I'll make her die without a burial. As she said this, Qin Fei's voice became somewhat hoarse, and her last words were drowned out by her cries of pain. Outside the room, the young prince saw a group of people ganging up on his imperial concubine mother, and a wave of terror came over him. Then, he ran away without looking back, afraid that these men in black would beat him up as well. At this moment, Qin Fei didn't think that the son she had raised would be so careless. In order to not drag her down, he didn't care about her at all. If she saw the scene of the little prince turning around and running away, would her heart turn cold? Of course, Qi Zheng and his son didn't know what had happened to Qin Fei. They were not having an easy time these days. Qi Su hated him to the core and had no father-son relationship with him. Therefore, he often found an excuse to beat him up. Unfortunately, Qi Su was protected by azure wings, so Qi Zheng had no response. He wanted to resist, but was quickly beaten down by azure wings. Now, he could only hope that Qin Fei would discover his suffering and come to save him. Unfortunately, Qin Fei was heavily injured and was bedridden for an entire 3 months before she could get out of bed. During these 3 months, those people didn't come to beat her up. Instead, they would bring a man to rape her every day. Chapter 1875. She had tried to complain to the emperor, but the emperor didn't believe what Mu Xuexin had done to her. What made her even more terrified was that on the night of the beating, she had screamed so loudly, but no one had heard her. It was as if there was no one around. It must be Mu Xuexin. The emperor had woken up, and she had regained her power. Only she had the ability to do such a thing. However, what made Qin Fei even more terrified was yet to come. 3 months of inhumane living had made her pregnant. She panicked, but it was hard for her to say it out loud. She was afraid that His Majesty would find out. After all, His Majesty hadn't doted on her for 3 months. If she was found to be pregnant, she would definitely be killed and lose His Majesty's love. Thinking of this, Qin Fei bit her lips and shouted, "Come, prepare the carriage for this consort. This consort wants to leave the palace to see elder brother." Abortion in the palace wasn't realistic. She had to go to the Qi family to solve this child. Yes, Qin Fei. The palace maid responded and left to prepare the carriage. Qi family. As the announcement of Qin Fei's arrival was announced, the servants at the door knelt in a row. She slowly walked down from the carriage and walked towards the Qi family's door. "This consort is here. Why hasn't elder brother come to receive this consort?" Qin Fei raised her eyebrows, her face full of dissatisfaction. If it was in the past, Qi Zheng and his son would have already received her. Why weren't they here yet? Imperial concubine Qin is really arrogant, putting on airs in my Qi family? A cold voice came from behind, causing Qin Fei's expression to darken. She looked coldly at the people walking over. There were 3 people slowly walking over. 2 of them were Qi Su and his sister. She didn't stop and turn to look at Yin Luofeng. In that instant, she clenched her fists so hard that her nails dug into her flesh. This face was too beautiful, so beautiful that she had been jealous for many years. Even though she knew that the person standing here wasn't Yin Yueqing, she still couldn't help but feel jealous. Moreover, this face was even more beautiful than Yin Yueqing's, and even younger. "Qi Su." Qin Fei snorted and turned to look at Qi Su, asking coldly, "Why are you here?" Qi Su sneered, "This is my home. Where else would I be if not here?" "Impudent." Qin Fei shouted angrily. "Who said this is your home? This is my Qi family. Who do you think you are to have the qualifications to step into my Qi family's doorstep?" He was just a person who had been expelled from his family and had no right to enter the Qi family. Qi Su's lips curled into a sarcastic smile. "Imperial concubine Qin, you seem to have forgotten that you're already married. I, Qi Su, am the young master of the Qi family. How am I not a member of the Qi family? As for you, I think the one who should scram is you. How dare you? When the eunuch saw Qi Su acting so rudely, he shouted. The guards at the side also drew their weapons and pointed them at Qi Su. Qi Su. Qin Fei walked arrogantly towards Qi Su. Bin Gong is His Majesty's concubine, and you are just a commoner. In front of Bin Gong. Bin Gong is not inferior, and you dare to be so rude? Qi Su curled his lips. When Master was still alive, His Majesty had already exempted me from kneeling. I don't even need to kneel to His Majesty. What right do you have? Qin Fei's expression changed. She had really forgotten about this. When she thought of this, she gritted her teeth and turned her furious gaze towards Yun Luofeng. Why don't you kneel when you see Bin Gong? The Qi siblings had His Majesty's decree and did not need to kneel to the imperial family. This woman was just an ordinary person. If she used her power to suppress people, no one would dare to say anything. Chapter 1876. Yun Luofeng glanced at her indifferently. Scram. At that moment, Qin Fei's expression was ferocious. Good, very good. These people didn't even put her, the imperial concubine, in their eyes. A commoner dares to be so arrogant? This concubine will immediately order the annihilation of your entire family. Qin Fei's words caused the Qi siblings to unconsciously turn to look at her. Their eyes were filled with mockery and schadenfreude. This Qin Fei was as brainless as always. She didn't even understand the situation and dared to be so arrogant. What's more, His Majesty was saved by Miss Yin. She still dared to use her authority to suppress her. Not scram. Yun Luofeng's eyes gradually darkened and his lips curved into an evil smile. Then do you want to die? Boom. In an instant, a powerful pressure pressed down. Under this pressure, Qin Fei's breathing became sluggish, as if a knife was pressed against her neck. She actually felt that death was so close. Yes, Qin Fei felt the aura of death. Even her eyes were filled with shock as she retreated step by step. No, impossible. Not only did this woman look similar to Yun Yueqing, even her eyes were as terrifying as her own. You? Qin Fei took a deep breath. This concubine will not argue with you for now and will spare your life. This concubine is here to see Qi Zheng. Unrelated people, please leave. After saying this, she led a group of people to enter the Qi residence. Yun Luofeng looked at her back and curled his lips. Did I give you permission to leave? Qin Fei's body stiffened and her face became extremely pale. She turned her head and suppressed the anger in her heart. What do you want? Didn't you want me to kneel? Yun Luofeng slowly walked forward and lifted his chin slightly, looking down from above. Now kneel. How dare you? Qin Fei was furious and couldn't control her temper anymore. However, just as she finished speaking, she felt a pain in her knee and knelt in front of Yun Luofeng with a bang. Her expression was extremely ugly, and her eyes were filled with anger. The surrounding people were scared silly. This woman told Qin Fei to kneel, and she really knelt? When did Qin Fei become so easy to talk to? Qi Zheng had been standing next to Yun Luofeng the entire time, staring coldly at Qin Fei, who was kneeling on the ground. When he thought of what these people had done after his master had disappeared, he wanted to tear them into pieces. You. Qin Fei's face was livid with anger, her whole body trembling. What are you waiting for? Capture this woman. When the palace guard saw this, they drew their swords and stepped forward. However, before they could reach Yun Luofeng's side, Qi Su suddenly attacked. Before they could see Qi Su's movements clearly, they felt a foot land on their chests. Their bodies felt heavy and they fell backwards. With this fall, the guards all felt like their bodies were falling apart. They were in so much pain that they couldn't get up from the ground. Qin Fei struggled to get up, her body trembling even more. Where's Qi Zheng? Hurry up and ask him to come out. Are we going to let this bastard treat his aunt like this? Aunt? These two words made Qi Su want to laugh. At a time like this, he still wanted to put on the airs of a senior in front of him? Did they really think he could be bullied? Your Highness. As Qin Fei's expression became uglier, a sorrowful and angry voice came from behind. Your Highness, you've finally come. You have to take justice for me. Hearing this, Qin Fei's expression became slightly better. However, Thinking of Chi Su's rudeness towards her, her face darkened again. She turned to look at the people walking over. Chapter 1877. Her gaze slowly swept across Qi Zheng and his son's faces before finally noticing the delicate woman who was following closely behind. She frowned and disgust flashed across her eyes. Why did Big Brother bring this woman back? Although she didn't like Lin Qing, as a woman, she hated seductresses who seduced men even more. This woman's delicate and pretentious expression made her even more unhappy. However, she also understood that this wasn't the time for her to look for trouble. Big Brother, why did you come so late? Didn't you see that little bastard Chi Su looking for trouble with me? Your chief family must give me a reason today. Qin Fei's expression darkened as she shouted harshly. Chi Su didn't refute her words. The corners of his lips curled up slightly as his eyes were filled with disdain and mockery. Hearing this, a trace of awkwardness flashed across Qi Zheng's face. He also wanted to come out earlier, but this damn man was watching him closely and didn't give him a chance at all. At this point, he glanced at Yun Yi behind him and gritted his teeth. Now that Qin Fei was here, he wanted to see how these people would bully him. In reality, Qi Zheng could only come out because Yun Luofeng had sent a soul message to Yun Yi, allowing him to let Qi Zheng's family of 3 leave the Forbidden Grounds. That was why they had appeared here earlier. After all, if they wanted to deal with Qin Fei, they would have to deal with the Qi family as well. However, the corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled up as she narrowed her eyes slightly. A trace of a smile flashed across her eyes. She didn't intend to make a move and wanted Qi Zheng to deal with it himself. Your Highness, I also wanted to come out earlier. Qi Zheng cried with snot and tears running down his face. But these people won't let me, and I have no choice. Furthermore, Qi Zheng has brought these outsiders to my Qi family these days and wants to steal the Qi family's assets. He's even imprisoned me. I have no choice. What? Hearing this, Qin Fei gritted her teeth in hatred as her gaze swept towards Qi Su. Little bastard, who allowed you to steal the Qi family's assets? You've been expelled from the Qi family. What right do you have? Her voice was filled with sharpness. If the Qi family's assets were in Qi Zheng's hands, she might be able to enjoy them. But if Qi Su took them, based on this brat's personality, he definitely wouldn't give her a single copper coin. How could she allow that? I know. Your spirit-gathering liquid and puppets belong to the Qi family. You stole from the Qi family and dared to sell them to the second prince. How dare you? Qin Fei raised her brows and shouted. These two were worthy of being siblings. They could shamelessly claim other people's treasures as their own. Qi Zheng was overjoyed. With imperial concubine Qin taking charge, let's see who Qi Su could find to help her this time. Ha! As soon as Qin Fei finished speaking, Qi Su suddenly appeared in front of her and gave her a slap. I don't want to hit women, but some people are asking for it, so don't blame me. Qin Fei was stunned. She didn't think that Qi Su would hit her in front of so many people. How could they accept this? Qi Su, looks like you want to die. Qin Fei's eyes suddenly burst out with coldness as she said through gritted teeth. As expected of that bitch Lin Qing's woman. She has no upbringing at all. She even dares to hit her aunt. Qi Su's aura suddenly changed. He grabbed Qin Fei's neck and lifted her up. His voice was extremely cold as he said, "Say that again?" At this moment, Qin Fei's expression finally changed. Her heart was filled with anger. Those guards were really useless. All of them were so weak, and Qi Zheng didn't even come to help her. Chapter 1878. In fact, those guards had been injured by Qi Zheng and had yet to get up. As for Qi Zheng, didn't he see that Yun Yi was still behind him? Would he dare to act rashly? Even Qi Mo, who had always been arrogant and domineering, did not say a word, let alone Qi Zheng. It wasn't that he had forgiven Qi Su, but ever since Qi Su returned to the Qi family, he had been living like a different person. Would he still dare to go against Qi Su after being tortured so badly? Unless Qin Fei was confident that she could kill Qi Su. Yes. At that moment, Qi Mo had a feeling that Qin Fei didn't have the ability to kill Qi Su. Otherwise, Qi Su wouldn't be so arrogant. Brat, you've got guts. How dare you hurt my imperial concubine? Right at this moment, a cold shout came from the sky and exploded in the crowd. Chi Su felt his chest tighten when he heard that voice, as if a hammer had smashed into his chest. His hand that was holding Qin Fei suddenly loosened, and she fell to the ground. The old man stood in the void with his hands behind his back and looked at the noisy crowd coldly. Anger gradually appeared in his eyes. "Old Wang, save me!" Qin Fei cried out as if she had seen her savior when she saw the old man. Old Wang didn't say anything. He stared at Chi Su coldly, with a murderous look in his eyes. With a boom, a powerful aura crushed over. Chi Su felt a pain in his chest, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Heavenly God. This old man was the heavenly god of drifting wind country. Chi Su suppressed the shock in his heart, and quickly he thought of a way to tell Mu'er about this. However, just as Chi Su was about to collapse under the pressure, a snow-white figure floated over and stood in front of him. "Chi Su, take care of your sister." Chi Ling had also been affected by the old man's appearance. Her face was pale, and she couldn't even speak. Chi Su was shocked. He didn't know why the pressure disappeared when Miss Yin stood in front of him. Could it be that Miss Yin was also a heavenly god? That was impossible. "Miss, are you going to meddle in other people's business?" The old man's eyes darkened. "I just heard someone report that someone is taking advantage of his power to bully others and humiliate the members of the imperial family. This time, I'm only here to seek justice for the imperial family. You'd better not get involved in this matter." Just now, Concubine Sheen's men had already rushed to the palace to ask for reinforcements. Old Wang was cultivating when he heard the report and immediately rushed over. Although he was already a god-king powerhouse, he still had to listen to His Majesty's orders in the palace. After all, His Majesty was protected by two ultimate gods. This Qin Fei was the person in His Majesty's heart, and His Majesty didn't punish her for bullying the princess. It could be seen that His Majesty was sincere towards Qin Fei. He would definitely stand by Qin Fei's side unconditionally, even if Qin Fei was wrong. "Old Wang, don't let this woman go. She's in cahoots with Chi Su." Not only did she look down on the imperial family, she even insulted His Majesty. She even forced me to kneel and said that only members of the royal family are worthy of kneeling to her. Qin Fei sneered and glared at Yin Luofeng. Although there were many people watching, Qin Fei thought that no one dared to offend her. As expected, no one dared to defend Yin Luofeng and Chi Su after hearing Qin Fei's words. The world was indeed fickle, and human nature was fickle. "Oh!" Old Wang's eyes darkened, and he said coldly, "Only members of the royal family are worthy of kneeling to you? I want to see what ability you have to be so arrogant." Chapter 1879. He didn't doubt Qin Fei's words. No matter what Qin Fei said, he had decided to stand on her side. Since that was the case, there was no need for her to frame him. It seems that the elites of the sovereign family are just SOSO. The corners of Yin Luofeng's lips curled up. "Looks like all of you have cultivated your brains to the point that you can't tell right from wrong. Just because she's the imperial family's empress, she can come and take things by force? Aren't you afraid of losing your reputation?" Old man Wang's face darkened. Compared to Yin Luofeng, he trusted Qin Fei more. Yin Luofeng slowly stepped into the air. Her white robes were devastatingly beautiful, like a woman in a painting. Her beauty was indescribable. Besides, imperial concubine Zither has no say in this drifting wind country. After saying that, Yin Luofeng was already standing high up in the sky, facing off against Elder Wang. However, his aura did not lose out to Elder Wang at all. No matter what the reason is, you won't be able to escape death today. It would seem that the cultivators of the imperial family were so ignorant of right and wrong that they had no regard for the reputation of the drifting wind country. After he finished speaking, Elder Wang didn't waste any more words and swiftly charged towards Yin Luofeng. His hands were like eagle claws, powerful and fast. Boom! Yin Luofeng retreated and attacked Old Man Wang. Their palms collided in the air. At that moment, everyone could clearly feel that under this powerful force, Even the space was distorted. In that instant, Yin Luofeng retreated several steps. A trickle of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. Miss Yun, Master. Chi Su's expression changed drastically. Qi Ling was so anxious that she burst into tears. If Aunt Yin was still around, who would dare to be so presumptuous? Once Aunt Yin left, they became so lawless. Ling Chi Su's breath froze. Hurry and find Mu Qi Ling's eyes lit up. How could she forget about Sister Mu? Thinking of this, she quickly turned around and rushed in the direction of the princess mansion. Quick, stop that bitch! Qin Fei gritted her teeth and yelled. Just as the guard was about to step forward, he was stopped by Qi Zheng. Let's see who dares to touch Ling. His aura was very strong. It blotted out the sky and covered the earth as it pressed down on the group of guards. Sure enough, under this imposing aura, these guards didn't dare to move. Big brother, what are you doing? Qin Fei turned to Qi Zheng angrily. Hurry up and capture this little bastard. Qi Zheng was in a difficult situation. He did not dare to act rashly. Otherwise, the man standing behind him would definitely beat him up again. Qin Fei stomped her feet in anger. Could it be that Big Brother still cared about the relationship between father and son at this time? The funny thing was that Qin Fei didn't expect that Qi Zheng didn't dare to make a move because of Yun Yi and instead thought that he was sentimental. If Qi Zheng was really a father and son person, why would he have expelled Qi Su from the Qi family? He even wanted to sell Qi Ling? In the sky, Yin Luofeng lifted his head to look at the elder in front of him. A cold light flashed across his pitch-black eyes. Was this the strength of a heavenly god? Once one reached the level of a divine being, it would be difficult for one to fight someone of a higher level. Fortunately, his physical constitution was relatively strong. Otherwise, he would not have suffered such a light injury from that palm strike. Little girl, I admit that you're quite talented. You've reached the level of a divine being at such a young age. Unfortunately, no matter how talented you are, you'll still lose to me. The elder scoffed coldly, his face expressionless. Yin Luofeng exhaled a mouthful of foul air. Then, under everyone's gaze, she slowly closed her eyes. No one knew what she was doing, and they were all in a daze. Could it be that this woman knew that she was going to lose, so she wasn't going to resist? Chapter 1880. However, not long after, dragon scales grew on the woman's body. Yes, it was indeed an armor in the shape of dragon scales, shining brightly under the sunlight. Qin Fei, who had been observing the entire time, widened her eyes as greed flashed across her eyes. This dragon scale armor also belongs to our Qi family. Qi Su, this little bee *starred, actually dared to steal our Qi family's treasure just to win a woman's favor. Elder Wang, you must strip this armor off this woman. She's not worthy of such a good thing. Hearing this, Qi Su curled his lips as a mocking smile flashed across his eyes. Your Highness Qin Fei, why don't you just say that all the treasures in this world belong to your Qi family? In an instant, everyone's gazes landed on Qin Fei. Although the crowd didn't dare to say a word due to the royal family's pressure, their hearts were as clear as a mirror. However, they didn't expect Qin Fei to be so greedy. No matter what others took out, she would say it was hers. Old Wang's eyes darkened as he looked at Qin Fei with dissatisfaction. He had believed Qin Fei's words earlier, but now he was a little hesitant. Qin Fei couldn't be blamed for her lack of knowledge. However, he clearly knew that this dragon scale armor was formed from consuming dragon blood. Of course, not all dragon blood had such an effect. Only 1 in 10,000 dragon blood could condense dragon scale armor. The process was naturally very arduous. He didn't think that anyone in the Qi family could endure this kind of hardship. No matter how much doubt old Wang had, he didn't say it out in front of everyone. His face darkened slightly. Little girl, looks like I've underestimated you. You actually have such a good thing on you. Since that's the case, I'll use all my strength to fight you. Whoosh! This time, old Wang didn't hold back and threw a punch at Yin Luofeng. Yin Luofeng's figure was like a light breeze as he quickly dodged old Wang's attack. Then, he cleverly circled behind old Wang, and a long sword suddenly appeared in his hand. The sword descended from the sky and slashed down. Old Wang sensed the cold light behind him and hurriedly dodged to the side. With a boom, the long sword created a long pit in the ground, and Old Wang was in an even more sorry state. Originally, there were many people on the street who were watching the show, but they were frightened by the battle between the two of them. They retreated one after another, afraid that this battle would affect them. The battle was not over yet. Although Yun Luofeng was a god spirit, her speed was no slower than a god king's. Furthermore, with the protection of the dragon scale armor, her body's toughness had increased significantly. Therefore, those with lower strength could only see sparks flying in the air, unable to see the battle between the two. Qin Fei panicked. Elder Wang, didn't you say you were going to fight her with your full strength? This girl is just a god. Even if you use a third of your power, you can still defeat her immediately. Why are you still going easy on her? Hurry up and kill her. Give me back my dragon scale armor. Old Wang, who was in the air, had already taken out his weapon. He no longer dared to underestimate his opponent. However, even so, he was still forced into a sorry state against Yun Luofeng, who had the protection of the dragon scale armor. Old Wang, who was already filled with anxiety, heard Qin Fei's words, and his face immediately darkened. A bitter taste appeared on the corner of his mouth. He never thought that one day he would be forced into such a state by a little girl. Chapter 1881. Especially after the battle, Old Wang's spiritual power was rapidly depleted, and he gradually felt powerless. On the contrary, Yun Luofeng's attacks became more ferocious, as if he possessed limitless spiritual power. Old Wang became increasingly anxious. He had come out in a hurry this time. Otherwise, he would not have been forced to this extent, even if he had called the other old men. Just as Elder Wang was about to be unable to hold on any longer, a clear voice suddenly rang out from within the crowd. Old Wang, you help me. If you dare to hurt Chi Su and Miss Yun, I will not let you off. Old Wang's expression suddenly changed. Why was the fourth princess here? However, the fourth princess and Chi Su were engaged, so it was normal for her to be here. But what did she mean by hurting this woman? He was clearly the one who was being bullied, right? Mu Xuexin quickly rushed in from the crowd. Her face was flushed red, evidently because she had run too quickly. Qiling followed behind her, also panting heavily. She was so tired that she could not even speak. However, when she saw the scene in the void, Mu Xuexin was dumbfounded. What? What was going on? Wasn't Miss Yun being bullied by Old Wang? Why did it feel like Old Wang was at a disadvantage? When Yun Luofeng saw that Mu Xuexin had arrived, she did not put away her sword and calmly walked down from the void. When Old Wang saw this, he rushed towards Yun Luofeng in a flash. A cold light flashed across his eyes, and he was about to attack her. However, it was as if Yun Luofeng had eyes on her back. When Old Wang was in front of her, she suddenly turned around and her palm landed on Old Wang's chest. Elder Wang hadn't expected his sneak attack to be discovered, so he hadn't put up any defenses. The punch hit his heart, causing him to cough up a mouthful of blood. He fell from the sky and smashed into the ground, creating a large crater. In the pit, he panted heavily. He felt that his heart was in so much pain that even breathing was difficult. Fortunately, he was a heaven god. He only needed a rest for a while before he gradually recovered. If he was slightly weaker, he might have died immediately. Qi Zhang's face was already pale with fear. If it was this woman instead of Yun Yi who had attacked him, he would definitely not have been able to withstand the blow and would have died immediately. When he thought of this, Qi Zhang felt somewhat fortunate. He was glad that he was still alive. The moment Yun Luofeng fell from the sky, the time limit of the dragon scale armor was already up. Otherwise, she wouldn't have stopped so quickly. Miss Yun, are you all right? Mu Xuexin recovered from her shock and heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that Yun Luofeng was safe and sound. No matter what, Yun Luofeng was her father's savior. If something really went wrong and she was injured by the royal family, she would never forgive herself for the rest of her life. Princess. Without waiting for Yun Luofeng to speak, Elder Wang had already climbed out of the pit. His hand was clutching his heart and his face was pale. I know that you and Chi Su were engaged, but now, Chi Su and this woman are humiliating the royal family. You can't protect them. Insult the royal family? Mu Xuexin smiled coldly. She looked at Qin Fei, whose face had turned pale, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. Did you see it with your own eyes, or heard it with your own ears? This. Elder Wang was stunned. It was Imperial concubine Qin who said that. She also said that this woman forced her to kneel and even claimed that only members of the royal family were worthy of kneeling to her. Chapter 1882. Mu Xuexin's expression turned even colder. How can you believe Qin Fei's words? Shouldn't you be thanking me if I say that Qin Fei has an affair with someone and is pregnant with a bastard child? It was just a casual remark, but it made Qin Fei's heart skip a beat and her face turn pale. It was indeed Mu Xuexin's doing. Otherwise, how would she know that she was pregnant? Thinking of this, she gritted her teeth in hatred. Princess, how can you speak so casually? Framing others? Old Wang was very displeased. To be honest, he was very unhappy with how His Majesty doted on the fourth princess. The fourth princess was just a woman. No matter how much he doted on her, she would still have to be betrothed to someone else. It was better to give more care to the little prince. The little prince was a part of the royal family. Mu Xuexin shrugged. You already said that I'm framing her, so why do you believe Qin Fei's words? Old Wang's expression was very ugly. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. I saw Chi Su trying to strangle Her Highness with my own eyes. She should be executed for plotting against the imperial consort. This time, he wanted to see how the fourth princess was going to help these people. Plotting against the royal family was a capital crime. That's right. Suddenly, a powerful voice sounded from behind the crowd. Plotting against the royal family is indeed a capital crime. With that, a middle-aged man walked over under the protection of a group of people. The man was handsome and looked somewhat similar to Mu Xuexin. The aura of the people beside him wasn't any weaker than Old Wang. A divine king expert? There is only one person in the drifting wind country who could bring so many divine kings with him. Before the crowd could guess the man's identity, Old Wang and the guards knelt down. Greetings, Your Majesty. Joy flashed on Qin Fei's face. His Majesty said that plotting against the royal family was a capital crime? Could it be that he was here to stand up for her? That made sense. She had plotted against the princess, but His Majesty didn't punish her. This meant that he must have treated her as his true love. Now that she was almost killed, how could His Majesty not do anything? Perhaps it was because of the Emperor's arrival, but Qin Fei raised her head and said arrogantly, Chi Su, what else do you have to say? I'm a consort, and you dare to humiliate me? You're simply disrespecting His Majesty. Qi Zheng and Qi Mo heaved a sigh of relief. His Majesty was here, and he was clearly on Imperial concubine Qin's side. This time, no matter how powerful Yin Luophone was, he wouldn't be able to escape death. Qi Su, Qi Zheng's face was cold. If you let your mother apologize to Fei Fei, I will save her life. Of course, she's no longer the first madam of the Qi family. She can only be a servant. From now on, Fei Fei will be the only madam of the Qi family. Jian Fei Fei's face was full of smiles, and she could not hide the pride in her eyes. Lin Qing, no matter how hard you try, you will never be able to defeat me in this lifetime. From now on, I'm the Qi family's matriarch, and you're just a servant. I'll pay you back for what you and your son have done to me these past few days. But Jian Fei Fei did not reveal her thoughts. She said softly, Husband, isn't this too cruel? After all, Lin Qing has given birth to your children. Why don't you let her be your concubine? Fei Fei, you're so kind. Unlike that evil woman, Lin Qing. Since you're so magnanimous, I'll treat you well. These people talked among themselves and did not notice the smile on Chi Su's face and the cold look on Mu Jintian's face. I haven't finished speaking. Plotting against the royal family is a capital crime. However, Imperial concubine Qin has already been demoted to a commoner. She's no longer my concubine. Chapter 1883. Qin Fei's smile froze. The smugness in Qi Zheng's and Jian Fei Fei's eyes hadn't disappeared yet, They were dumbfounded by Mu Jintian's words. What did His Majesty say? Qin Fei was no longer a member of the royal family? Your Majesty! Imperial concubine Qin screamed and looked at him with a pitiful gaze. What has this subject's concubine done for your Majesty to treat this subject's concubine like this? Mu Jintian's face darkened. You bullied my benefactor, and you bullied him. What should I do? Qin Fei's face paled, and she asked weakly, Your Majesty, what do you mean? When did I bully your benefactor? Before she could finish her words, Mu Jintian interrupted her coldly. Miss Yun is my savior. You brought people to bully her, and you still want me to stand up for you? Boom! As soon as Mu Jintian finished speaking, he struck out with his palm. Qin Fei's body flew 100 feet away and fell to the ground with a bang. Old man Wang was scared out of his wits. A chill ran from the bottom of his feet to the bottom of his heart. He shrunk his shoulders, subconsciously trying to reduce his presence. All of this had occurred too unexpectedly, and it was to the extent that he was still unable to react to it. Ah! Qin Fei let out a shrill scream. She clutched her stomach tightly as blood flowed out from her stomach. Her face was extremely pale. Qi Zheng wasn't proficient in medicine, but he had learned a few tricks when Yun Yueqin was around. He was startled when he saw Qin Fei's lower body bleeding. If it was just her period, there wouldn't be so much blood. Could it be? Qi Zheng was overjoyed, but he calmly walked in front of Qin Fei and felt her pulse. When he felt her pulse, his expression suddenly became sorrowful. Your Majesty, the Empress has a miscarriage. Even if you don't love the Empress anymore, the child in her stomach is your child. Even if you don't give face to the monk, give face to the Buddha and save the Empress. He obviously didn't do it for Qin Fei. He just wanted to live. If Qin Fei had a child, His Majesty would definitely soften and the Qi family would be able to escape. However, Qi Zheng didn't notice that Qin Fei's face became paler and paler. She gripped her skirt tightly and her eyes were filled with despair. It's over. This time, it was all over no matter what he said. Ever since I fell sick, I have never touched Qi Qin again. How could she get pregnant? Perhaps it was because concubine Qin had angered Mu Jintian so much that he didn't even think about it. What? His Majesty did not touch imperial concubine Qin? Qi Zheng's face instantly turned pale, and he said timidly, Your Majesty, are you mistaken? Imperial concubine Qin had always been gentle and virtuous. How could she do such a dissolute thing? Your Majesty must have pampered her ladyship and forgotten. At this moment, Qi Zheng's words came out without thinking, which made Mu Jintian's face turn cold. Humph! Concubine Qin couldn't bear the loneliness and betrayed us. Now she wants us to be the scapegoat. Ever since I recovered, I've spent the past few months in my study. You can find out from the records. Mu Jintian's eyes were cold. Guards, take concubine Qin back and put her in custody. I'll deal with her after I find out the truth. Hearing this, Qin Fei hurriedly got up from the ground and staggered towards Mu Jintian. Your Majesty, I'm innocent. It's Mu Yueqin. She deliberately framed me. Hearing that Qin Fei wanted to frame Mu Yueqin, Mu Jintian became even angrier. Concubine Qin is unrepentant and wants to frame the fourth princess. She's guilty. Chapter 1884. Your Majesty, I'm not lying. Right, the Spirit Gathering Hall. The Spirit Gathering Hall was opened by the second prince of Tianqi country. Qi Su is already a citizen of Tianqi country. He betrayed the country. Mu Yueqin must know about this. They're working together to deal with Drifting Wind Country. My son is the only prince of Drifting Wind Country. She's doing this to drag my son down with her. Qin Fei panicked and wanted to push the blame onto Mu Yueqin. Even if she couldn't escape death, she wouldn't let these people off easily. Mu Jintian's eyes darkened. Speaking of this little prince, I wonder if he's my son. I'm going to test his blood when I return later. Qin Fei's body went limp and she lay on the ground. Her eyes were filled with despair as she bit her lips. But it's also a fact that Qi Su had an affair with the second prince of Tianqi country. How can you protect them, Your Majesty? Affair? An evil and cold voice came from the side. Qin Fei's lips trembled as she turned to look at the woman beside her. Yin Luofeng's lips curled. Who told you that the spirit gathering hall belongs to the second prince of Tianqi country? Qin Fei was stunned. What did that mean? Didn't Qi Su sell the formula of the spirit gathering solution to the second prince? Otherwise, she wouldn't have let the spirit gathering hall go. That's just a rumor. How can you take it seriously? Did you hear Qi Su admit it? Yin Luofeng glanced at Qin Fei expressionlessly. Qin Fei finally came back to her senses and wanted to pounce on Qi Su. Qi Su, you liar. How dare you lie to your aunt? I'm going to kill you. Qi Su took 2 steps back and frowned. He sneered, if I didn't say that, you wouldn't have taken advantage of His Majesty's illness and taken away my elixir gathering hall. I remember generally saying that my spirit gathering hall belonged to the Qi family. You want to take it by force. This spirit gathering hall belonged to the Qi family. You're the one who stole it. Qin Fei still didn't know how to repent. Mu Jintian gave the 2 people beside him a look. They immediately stepped forward and held Qin Fei down so that she couldn't move. Was the Qi family? Qi Su raised his head and looked at Mu Jintian. Your Majesty, I have one more thing to ask of Your Majesty. Facing Qi Su, Mu Jintian looked much more relaxed. He quite liked this kid, and it wasn't just because of Mu Xuexin. Rather, this kid's talent was not bad, and his character was excellent. Only such a youth was worthy to be the son-in-law of the imperial family. Feel free to speak your mind. Your Majesty, Qi Zheng brought Jian Feifei back from outside previously. That's fine, but just now I learned something. Qi Su looked at Qi Zheng coldly, and the killing intent in his eyes intensified. Qi Zheng is inhumane. He killed my brother and even asked Jian Feifei's son, Qi Mo, to pretend to be the eldest son of the Qi family. What? Everyone turned pale with fright and looked at Qi Zheng in disbelief. Even a vicious tiger would not eat its cubs. How could he do such a thing that went against his conscience? Qi Zheng's mouth was dry as he quibbled. What nonsense are you talking about? So many years have passed since then. So how could he have known? Do you want to know how I know? Qi Su sneered. Ever since I found out that Qi Mo wasn't my brother, I asked my uncle. When my mother was about to give birth, my aunt was also outside the door. She even heard the child crying. Yet, you said that my mother was pregnant with a stillborn child? For this reason, I made a special investigation. Fortunately, the heavens do not disappoint those who persevere. I found out that you once plotted against my elder brother. Chapter 1885. Su'er, is what you said true? A trembling voice came from inside the door. Qi Su was shocked. He looked up and saw a tear-stained face. Mother, why are you out? Su'er, I'm only asking you, is what you said true? Lin Qing clenched her fists tightly, her body trembling. Qi Su nodded with a bitter smile. It's true. Lin Qing knew that her son would never lie to her, so she glared at Qi Zheng angrily. Back then, you killed my son so that Jian Feifei's son could sneak into the Qi family and become the eldest son. In the end, you're saying that it's my fault? Qi Zheng, how can you be so inhumane? You were the one who harmed my innocent child and made me raise your child for your mistress. Yet, you forced me to apologize after bringing my mistress into the Qi family. Lin Qing staggered as she thought about what had happened that day. Tears flowed down her cheeks uncontrollably. 3 months ago, you said that I took away Jian Feifei's son and separated them. So it was all my fault. You forced me to kneel down and apologize to Jian Feifei. However, before that, I didn't know that Qi Mo wasn't my son. What I didn't know was that you killed my son. Everyone was furious because of Qi Zheng's actions. When they heard Lin Qing's sobbing voice, they became even more furious. There was actually such a shameless person in this world. First, she killed someone else's son and let the mistress's son sneak in. Then, she made someone else raise her son for more than 10 years. In the end, she even forced someone else to apologize. She said that she stole someone else's mother-son relationship. Even if she was shameless, there should be a limit. How did such a shameless person live to this day? Qi Zheng's face was already pale, but he still refused to admit it. Qi Su said that I killed him. So does that mean I killed him? Where's the evidence? Qi Su sneered. Do you have the guts to swear? Swear to the heavenly Tao that if you didn't kill my brother, You'll definitely go to hell after you die and never be reincarnated. Qi Zheng's face turned even paler when he heard that. A look of guilt flashed across his eyes. When the crowd saw this, they understood who was lying. So what if I did it? Qi Zheng gritted his teeth and admitted, "That kid is a jinx." When he spoke, all the words in the backyard withered, and the midwives said that he was unlucky. Letting the flowers wither is bad luck. Yin Luofeng gave Qi Su a look to stop him from speaking. Then he turned his gaze to Qi Zheng. "Do you believe that I also have a way to make flowers wither?" "What?" Qi Su was stunned. Yin Luofeng laughed evilly. "There is a type of soil called yellow sky soil. Mix this soil with spirit flowers, grind it into powder, and sprinkle it on the flowers, and the flowers will wither. If you don't believe me, you can ask the doctors here." Even though Qi Zheng had learned some medical skills, unfortunately, he was not talented and was only a dabbler. Naturally, he did not know about this. There were also doctors among the people brought by Mu Jintian. After hearing Yin Luofeng's words, they all nodded. That's right. This method can make flowers wither. Qi Zheng, who originally insisted on his own idea, suddenly changed his expression when he heard what the people from the royal family said. "This is impossible. How could the things you mentioned be in the Qi family?" The flowers of the Qi family withered in an instant. "It's definitely not because of those things." "Is that so?" Qi Su sneered. He had already caught a glimpse of Jian Feifei's pale face. He continued, "Just in time, I found a midwife from back then." Chapter 1886. Back then, the Qi family wasn't very powerful. In addition, he was confident that he could deceive everyone, so he didn't kill the midwife. Even if someone questioned him, he would be the one who stood on the side of reason. Yes, Qi Su felt that he was right, so he wasn't worried about exposing himself. Besides, he didn't want Lin Qing to be too sad by letting him enter the residence. As for Jian Feifei, he wanted to deal with the midwife. However, the midwife was very cunning and didn't give Jian Feifei a chance. Besides, Jian Feifei wasn't strong enough back then, so the midwife escaped. Qi Su had spent a lot of effort to find her. "Greetings, Your Majesty." The midwife walked out under the lead of two people and knelt in front of the emperor. When Jian Feifei saw the midwife, her body swayed a few times and she almost fainted. "Tell me what's going on?" Mu Jintian asked with a cold face. The midwife trembled. It's Jian Feifei. She gave me a bottle of medicine and asked me to apply it on those flowers. She also told the master of the Qi family that the child was unlucky. At that time, Jian Feifei could take the opportunity to ask for her son to enter the residence. "Your Majesty, Jian Feifei promised me 100 taels of silver back then, but I accidentally told my son. My son knows more and said that Jian Feifei would kill me, so..." Her voice was trembling. "I didn't dare to ask for the 100 taels of silver and ran away. Your Majesty, I really know my mistake. Please let me go on account that I didn't take the money." Mu Jintian snorted. "Do you know that your actions have harmed an innocent person's life? It's only right that you pay with your life." After saying that, he looked at Jian Feifei fiercely. Jian Feifei staggered a few steps back, her entire body trembling. Qi Zheng knew that the midwife was telling the truth when he saw her. "Jian Feifei," he shouted angrily. All these years, why had Qi Zheng doted on Jian Feifei so much? Wasn't it because of Jian Feifei's kindness? Back then, he had strangled his eldest son and was worried about how to explain it to Lin Qing. It was Jian Feifei who stood up and claimed that she was willing to sacrifice herself to help Lin Qing. It was because of this that he felt so guilty towards her. She even thought that Lin Qing had robbed her of her mother. Never would he have thought that all of this was part of her plan. Qi Zheng's eyes were filled with grief and indignation. He even thought that everything would be different if his eldest son had not died. The Qi family's glory was his, the spirit-gathering elixir was also his, and Qi Su was still very filial to him. Obviously, Qi Zheng hadn't reflected on his mistakes up until now, and he'd pushed the blame onto Jian Feifei instead. With Qi Zheng's angry shout, Jian Feifei's mental defenses finally collapsed, and she fell to the ground with a bang. Her face was pale. In this extreme fear, she couldn't say a word. Enough. Seeing that Qi Zheng was about to teach Jian Feifei a lesson, Qi Su shouted coldly, "You don't have the right to punish her. This woman has caused my mother to suffer so much and even caused the death of my brother. I'll deal with her myself. As for you," Qi Su smiled coldly, "do you think death is a release? No, he would make him suffer for the rest of his life." Yun Luofeng's body was still leaning lazily against the tree. When he turned around and saw the hostility in Qi Su's eyes, he couldn't help but curl his lips. For a person, death was the easiest choice. Chapter 1887. There was a way to live a life worse than death. Yun Luofeng didn't ask about this because she knew that Qi Su would take care of it himself. Qi Su's words frightened Qi Zheng. His voice trembled as he said, I'm your father." "Father?" Qi Su smiled mockingly. "My father died a long time ago when he killed my big brother." Qi Su's face paled, and he stumbled to the ground. His face was ashen and his eyes were filled with pain. He regretted it. He regretted listening to slander and killing that newborn child. He regretted even more treating Qi Su this way after Yun Yueqing disappeared. Unfortunately, everything had already happened. There was no point in regretting it. Qi Su. Just as the atmosphere became extremely heavy, a lazy voice suddenly rang out, causing everyone's gaze to fall upon the peerlessly beautiful face. Mu Zhintian hadn't paid much attention to Yun Luofeng at first. He only knew that this woman was his benefactor. However, at this moment, when he saw the woman's devilishly beautiful face, a look of shock flashed across his eyes. Similar. Too similar. He and Yun Yueqing looked exactly the same. It would be hard to believe that they weren't related. Moreover, this woman had appeared by Qi Su's side and taken Qi Ling as her disciple. If it wasn't for Yun Yueqing, how could she have met the Qi siblings so coincidentally? And she had even helped him without any hesitation? Master. Qi Su didn't hide Yun Luofeng's identity anymore. Concubine Qin had already passed away, and the Qi family was nothing to be afraid of. He didn't need to worry anymore. Qi Zheng, who had been lying on the ground, suddenly widened his eyes when he heard this. He stared at Yun Luofeng. "Who are you?" Even though this woman looked like Yun Yueqing, they didn't connect the two of them. This was because one of the two women was extremely beautiful and powerful, while the other was trying to curry favor with Qi Su. Yes, in everyone's eyes, Yun Luofeng was only using her similar appearance to Yun Yueqing to get close to Qi Su. She wanted to obtain wealth through Qi Su. After all, even though Qi Su had been expelled from the Qi family, who could guarantee that he wouldn't return one day? However, Qi Su actually addressed this woman as his master. Mu Zhintian and his daughter looked calm, but they were shocked at the same time. Fortunately, they had vaguely guessed Yun Luofeng's identity, so they were not as shocked as the others. "Whatever relationship you think we have, that's our relationship." Under everyone's shocked gazes, Yun Luofeng slowly opened his mouth. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, and his voice was as calm as the wind. She did not admit it, nor did she deny it. Even if she thought that Yun Yueqing and Bai Ling were the same person. Qi Su seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes were startled. "Master, are you and my master really related? Would you believe me if I said I don't know?" Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow and turned to Qi Su. "In addition, no matter in front of others or behind them, you don't need to call me master. Ling is my disciple, so you can just call me by my name." Otherwise, if Bai Ling was Yun Yueqing, their relationship was in a mess. She didn't know. Qi Su was a little confused. If it was, then it was. If it wasn't, then it wasn't. How could he not know? "I'm sleepy. Hurry up and take care of things here. Don't let them disturb my rest." Yun Luofeng clearly didn't want to say anything else. She stretched lazily and walked around the crowd toward the Qi family. Chapter 1888. Jian Feifei's eyes flashed with viciousness. It was all this woman's fault. If she hadn't appeared, she would have been the mistress of the Qi family. Qi Su and his mother would have been trampled under her feet. Therefore, her hatred for Yun Luofeng made her lose control. She got up and took out a sword to slash at the back of Yun Luofeng's head. Yun Luofeng seemed to have eyes on the back of her head. The moment the sword fell, she quickly turned around, and with a cool flying kick, she swept Jian Feifei away. With a bang, she fell in the middle of the road. You think you can sneak an attack on me? Yun Luofeng smiled and crossed her arms. She looked down at Jian Feifei, who had fallen to the ground. Blood kept flowing out of Jian Feifei's mouth as she glared at Yun Luofeng hatefully. You ruined my plans. I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. Do you think you have the right to become a ghost after offending me? The woman raised her eyebrows and smiled. However, her arrogant tone made Jian Feifei's face turn green. Chisu had already arrived in front of Jian Feifei with his guards. His handsome face was cold. You overestimate yourself. Men, capture her and execute her with 1,000 cuts. Execute her. These words made Jian Feifei tremble. Her eyes were filled with fear. She knew that Chisu wouldn't let her off, but she didn't expect him to execute her. No, I didn't do anything. You can't do this to me. Jian Feifei panicked. She wanted to get up and escape, but before she could stand up, Chisu stepped on her firmly. You didn't do anything? Although Qi Zheng killed my brother, you're the culprit. Moreover, he would never forget how these people had arrogantly forced his innocent mother to apologize when he had stepped into the Qi family again. He felt a heart-wrenching pain when he thought of that scene. Therefore, whether it was Qi Zheng, Qi Mo, or Jian Feifei, he wouldn't let them die so easily. Qi Mo was so scared that he didn't dare to say a word. He turned around and wanted to escape. Chi Su glanced over, and a sharp palm strike landed on Qi Mo's body. Qi Mo's body flew out and hit the wall with a bang. At that moment, the wall collapsed and turned into a pile of rubble, covering his body. Take him down as well. I will think of the best and most painful way to deal with it. Chi Su's smile was very cold. There was an indescribable sense of satisfaction in his heart. Chi Su, you'll be the master of the Qi family in the future. I congratulate you in advance. Mu Jintian smiled. However, I must remind you that the Yun girl and Yun Yueqing must have some sort of relationship. Trust my intuition. Yes, he had an intuition. There was definitely some sort of relationship between Yun Luofeng and Yun Yueqing. Chi Su's gaze was a little dazed. He looked in the direction that Yun Luofeng had left and fell into deep thought. Night fell. The night was like water. Qin Fei curled up in a corner, her body trembling. Creak. The door was pushed open, and then a bright figure appeared in front of her. She raised her head and looked at the handsome middle-aged man in front of her. Tears of grievance flowed down her face. Your Majesty, this concubine was really wronged. It was the fourth princess who framed me. Mu Jintian's lips curled into a cruel smile. I know you're wronged, but the person who framed you isn't Mua. Chapter 1889. What? Qin Fei looked at Mu Jintian in shock. His Majesty knew that he was wronged? He even knew that the one who wronged him wasn't the fourth princess? Then why did he treat her like this? Your Majesty, why do you say that? Qin Fei's lips trembled, and she looked rather embarrassed. Because... Mu Jintian paused. The people who were sent to beat you and rape you were all my secret guards. Boom! Qin Fei's mind exploded at this moment. Her face was filled with astonishment and disbelief. The people sent by His Majesty? How? How is this possible? Why did His Majesty make himself a cuckold? Qin, this is the price you have to pay for plotting against Mu'er? Mu Jintian's face was very cold. Besides, do you really think that I don't know that your son isn't my flesh and blood? Qin Fei's face became even paler. She bit her lips, and her widened pupils were filled with shock. His Majesty knew? When did you invite him? Mu Jintian's voice softened, but in this voice, Qin Fei could only hear bone-piercing hatred. I didn't punish you before because you think that I really love you? Wrong. I just want to know who the man who made me a cuckold is. Fortunately, I have already found out that your son is the son of the third prince of Tianqi Kingdom. Mu Jintian smiled coldly. I let you go for now to lure the snake out of its hole. Yesterday, I have already caught the secret guard who came to deliver the letter. Qin Fei shook her head. She couldn't figure out when Mu Jintian found out about all this. Since you already know everything, there is no need to keep you alive. Mu Jintian raised his head and looked down at the woman who had collapsed on the ground. So, I deliberately caused you to miscarry in the chief family. Qin Fei lowered her eyes. Her heart was already filled with despair. She was His Majesty's woman. Why did he have to be so cruel? He didn't hesitate to let the world know that he had been made a cuckold. You must want to know why I didn't hesitate to let the world know that you betrayed me to punish you. Mu Jintian sneered. Not only do I want you to die, I also want you to lose your reputation and be despised by the world. This is the result of bullying Mu-er. Qin Fei suddenly raised her head and trembled as she looked at Mu Jintian. For the sake of Mu Shuoxin, he didn't hesitate to discredit himself? Was his daughter really that important to him? Mu-er is the daughter of the Empress. Seeing her is equivalent to seeing the Empress. If it wasn't for the fact that the Emperor can't only favor one person, there wouldn't be people like you. It's fine if you know your place, but you still can't recognize your place and make life difficult for Mu-er again and again. Mu Jintian put his hands behind his back. The moonlight poured through the door and fell on his back. Therefore, for the sake of Mu-er, what harm is there in letting the world know that you betrayed me? After saying this, Mu Jintian turned his head and looked outside the door. Under the night sky, the little prince's face was pale and filled with panic. You're lying to me. How could I not be my father's son? I'm the prince of Drifting Wind Country, the next monarch. They must be lying to him. That must be it. Qin Fei was a little flustered. She quickly got up from the ground and rushed out to hug the little prince. Mu Jintian did not stop her. He looked expressionlessly at the mother and son who were hugging each other. Your Majesty. Qin Fei pulled the little prince around and knelt in front of Mu Jintian. My son is innocent. Please forgive him, Your Majesty. He's just a child and doesn't know anything. Chapter 1890. You don't know anything? Mu Jintian narrowed his eyes slightly. He slowly stretched out his hand, and a scroll fell into his hand. The scroll depicted a young girl, but she was wounded by thousands of swords and was kneeling on the ground, begging for mercy. In front of the girl, there was a child with his hands on his waist, arrogantly accepting the girl's kowtow. Obviously, the girl was Mu Shuoxin, and the child was the little prince. How could a child have such a vicious heart and say that he didn't know anything? Imperial concubine Xin also saw the content of the painting, and her expression became more and more panicked. Your Majesty, someone must have framed her. My son is innocent and kind. How could one want to kill the fourth princess? However, the little prince did not cooperate with Imperial concubine Xin at all. He shook off Imperial concubine Qin's hand and fiercely glared at the girl in the painting. I am father's son, and she is his daughter. What right does she have to seize father's love? Only I deserve to be loved, and she can only be trampled under my feet. Imperial concubine Qin turned pale with fright and wanted to reach out to cover the little prince's mouth, but it was too late. The little prince had already said these words. Mu Jintian narrowed his eyes slightly, and a trace of anger flashed across his eyes. Who taught you to say these words? He seemed to have asked this inadvertently. This time, the little prince cooperated and told him, My mother told me. She said that only a son can be the heir, and that a daughter will marry sooner or later. Once she is married, she will be like water that has been poured out. She will no longer be a member of the royal family. Good, very good. Mu Jintian was so angry that he laughed. You really raised a good son. Fortunately, you didn't give birth to a child for me, otherwise my child would have been destroyed by you. You say he is innocent? Isn't my Mu-er innocent too? You had a son with a wild man, and I have raised him for so many years. How dare you try to kill my own daughter? How can I let you and your son go? Moreover, don't think that I don't know that the third prince of Tianqi Kingdom wants to take over my country. So, not only did he make me a cuckold, but he also helped you make your son the monarch of Drifting Wind Country. When Drifting Wind Country becomes your son, he will immediately change the country's surname. The more Mu Jintian spoke, the angrier he became. He said coldly, However, I will not punish you for the time being. I will decide your guilt after the morning assembly tomorrow. It wasn't that he didn't want to deal with it, but he needed to discuss it with the ministers. However, Qin Fei's ending would definitely be miserable. Thinking about what would happen to her in the future, Qin Fei's legs gave way and she fell to the ground, her eyes filled with pain. Mu Zhenqian didn't take another look at this woman. He swung his sleeves and left, leaving Qin Fei, who was crying bitterly in the night. Son, mother has let you down. Lady Qin's expression was filled with bitterness. If mother hadn't trusted others, your father wouldn't have become someone else. That person had even said that he would help her become the most respected woman in Drifting Wind Country. Now that she was suffering here, that person would not come to save them. Nonsense. Don't try to lie to me. I'm father's son, not that wild man's. The little prince angrily jumped up and slapped Qin Fei. Go find Father Emperor. Go tell him that I am his son. Son? Qin Fei raised her head in disbelief. She couldn't believe that this ruthless child in front of her was her son. In fact, she should have known that the little prince would not recognize his own family. After all, the little prince had been looking forward to Mu Zhenqian's death so that he could inherit the throne. Chapter 1891. But at that time, concubine Qin knew that the little prince was not Mu Zhenqian's son, so she did not think that her son was not a relative. Get lost. I don't recognize you as my mother. I don't have a mother like you, who finds a wild man. You find a wild man, but I'm not a bastard. I'm not. The little prince's face was filled with madness as he slapped concubine Qin. Even though concubine Qin had committed heinous crimes, she loved her son from the bottom of her heart. But she never thought that she would spoil her son to this extent. Caressing her face that was slapped, concubine Qin's heart was already focused on studying abroad. This was the first time she regretted not teaching the little prince well and instilling so many evil thoughts in him. Now, she was asking for trouble. The next day, there were endless arguments in the imperial court. The actions of Qi Zheng and his son aroused public criticism. They were at the heart of the storm and were reviled and looked down upon by everyone. Not only did concubine Qin make Mu Zhenqian a cuckold, but she was also pregnant with a bastard. Therefore, the officials in the imperial court announced that she should be executed. Of course, it was too easy to execute her. In the end, an imperial physician from the imperial physician hall took out a poison that would make her suffer for 7 days and 7 nights until she died. Although the little prince did not make any substantial mistakes, he was not of the royal bloodline after all. Adding on to the fact that he was so vicious at such a young age, he could not be forgiven. As for concubine Qin's henchmen, none of them were spared. The imperial physician who helped concubine Qin to poison the little prince died as an apology after he found out Mu Zhenqian had always admired Qi Su. Moreover, he was already engaged to Mu Xuexin, so he ordered the two of them to get engaged. This imperial edict naturally caused some people to be happy, while others were worried. The ones who were happy were the Qi siblings and Mu Xuexin. The ones who were worried were the young ladies of the Drifting Wind Country who were in love with Qi Su. However, when they thought about the fact that the Qi family had a mistress, they still had the position of concubine and concubine. All of a sudden, the Qi family was filled with people. These people only wanted to enter the Qi family, but they never thought that their actions would offend someone. Yin Luofeng. At that moment, in the room, Yin Luofeng was resting with her eyes closed. When she heard the noise coming from outside the courtyard, her expression darkened. Qi Ling saw her master's expression change and bravely said, "Master, I'll drive them away." After settling the matter with the Qi family, Qi Su had to leave the Qi family. He had been gone for a few days, but those women still came to the Qi family to wait for him. The guards of the Qi family didn't dare to stop these noble ladies, so they formed groups and treated the Qi family's residence as a bustling market. Previously, Yin Luofeng had entered the divine grimoire space as soon as it was daytime, so he didn't feel anything. It was rare that he didn't go to the divine grimoire space today, so he discovered these things about the Qi family. Qi Ling, do you want Mu Xuexin to be your sister-in-law? Yin Luofeng curled his lips and asked. She hadn't met Mu Xuexin many times, but she had a good impression of her. As a princess, Mu Xuexin was neither arrogant nor rash. Regardless of whether she was rich or poor, she had chosen Qi Su. She was worthy of Qi Su's love. I like Master the most, but Qi Ling tilted her head. Master can't be Ling Er's sister-in-law, so Ling Er wants Big Sister Mu to be my sister-in-law. Although Qi Su was Qi Ling's brother, Qi Ling had always felt that her master was so powerful that her brother was not worthy of her. Since that's the case, let's go out and get rid of any future troubles. Chapter 1892. Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes, and a cold light flashed across them. She rose from her bed and walked out the door. In the back garden, a group of brightly dressed women were sitting among a cluster of flowers, as if they were competing with the flowers for beauty. The women noticed Yun Luofeng walking towards them from the back garden, and their expressions froze. However, they quickly ignored her and continued chatting with their companions. Not everyone knows about what had happened at the Qi family home that day. Hence, these women were not aware of Yun Luofeng's identity. Who let them in? Yun Luofeng's eyes gradually turned cold as she asked icily. A guard next to her broke into a cold sweat. Miss Yun, these people have come uninvited. I tried to stop them, but they would not stop at all. Besides, the master is not in the Qi family home, and the lady does not leave the house. We had no choice. Now that I'm here, chase them out of the Qi family home immediately. Break the legs of anyone who dares to take another step in. Yun Luofeng's voice was domineering. Her cold eyes swept towards the women who were sitting in a circle. Her demonic yet peerlessly beautiful face was filled with a chill. She had finally had 2 days of peace and quiet with great difficulty. She did not want these people to keep disturbing her. Yes, Miss Yun. The guard heaved a sigh of relief at Yun Luofeng's words. The women before them may not know Yun Luofeng's identity, but as Qi Su's guards, how could they not know? Even their own master was Yun Luofeng's subordinate. As guards, they naturally had to listen to her orders. Oh, a disdainful voice slowly rang out. A beautiful woman stepped out from the crowd. To put it nicely, you're a guest of the Qi family. To put it bluntly, Master Qi Su had kept you because of his kindness. Do you really think that you're the mistress of the Qi family? Since when did you have the right to speak in the Qi family? Even though this woman was beautiful, her brows were filled with arrogance. She looked at Yun Luofeng with disdain. Unsurprisingly, when she saw Yun Luofeng's face, she could not conceal the jealousy in her eyes. She was just a little good-looking. On the mainland, strength spoke for itself. No matter how peerless she was still just a vase. Su Shui, don't say any more. A gentlewoman stood up and smiled at Yun Luofeng. Miss, don't mind her. Su Shui's personality is straightforward, but she doesn't have any bad intentions. After saying this, he pretended to reprimand her. Su Shui, although what you said is the truth, you can't say it out loud. After all, this is the Qi family, and the 4th princess is the one in charge. Why do you have to get yourself into trouble? What she meant was that what Su Shui said was the truth. Yun Luofeng had taken over something that didn't belong to her. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes slightly and sized up the woman in front of him. A cold light flashed across his eyes. So, you know that this is the Qi family. If someone who doesn't know anything sees this, they will think that this is your territory. The corners of her lips curled up into a smile, causing the expressions of the few women present to freeze. The woman called Su Shui was just about to shout angrily when Yun Luofeng's cold and evil voice rang out. What are you all standing around for? Chase them out. If they don't want to leave, make them leave lying down. At this point, she paused again. Also, remember to clean and disinfect the places that they have stepped on with alcohol. Su Shui's face turned from green to white, then from white to green. Her eyes were filled with anger. Chapter 1893. The faces of the other women also darkened as they glared at Yun Luofeng angrily. What do you mean? I am the daughter of an official. If His Majesty finds out about this, he will not let you off. Su Shui rebuked. As she spoke, she wanted to step forward and teach Yun Luofeng a lesson. However, before she could reach him, she was stopped by the Qi family's guards and carried out of the door like a little chick. Let go. Let go of me. You are the guards of the Qi family. Why do you listen to this woman? I know. She must have seduced Qi Su. If the princess finds out about this, She will not let her off. At this moment, Su Shui seemed to have forgotten that they had come to the Qi family for Qi Su. As the women watched Su Shui being dragged out by the Qi family guards, they could not help but feel bewildered. Why were the Qi family guards so obedient to her? Could it be that Qi Su had really taken a fancy to this woman? No, absolutely not. If it was Her Royal Highness, they might have a chance to become concubines of the Qi family. If the Qi family had such an overbearing, unreasonable, and vicious woman, they would never be able to enter the Qi family. Su Shui was still cursing Yun Luofeng when a voice rang out from behind her. Her angry expression suddenly turned into surprise. What happened? Not far away, Qi Su stood at the door with a slight frown. He had only left for a few days. Why did so many people come to the Qi family? Young master. The guard pulled Su Shui's body to the ground with a thud. She looked battered and exhausted. These people came to the Qi family saying that they want to see you. They have been here for a few days. Qi Su had not come alone. He had Mu Xuexin with him. Therefore, when they saw Mu Xuexin by Qi Su's side, the other women did not dare to move. However, Su Shui's way of thinking was different. She felt that sooner or later, she would become Qi Su's woman. No matter what she did, it was only right. So, she climbed up from the ground in a sorry state and quickly rushed towards Qi Su. Qi Su jumped in fright. Without even thinking, he raised his leg and kicked Su Shui in the chest. Su Shui's body flew out and landed heavily in the flower bed. Su Shui was stunned. Her tears fell like rain. Young Master Qi Su, I came to see you, but this woman is too despicable. She claimed to be the mistress of the Qi family, and even wanted to chase us out. As she wept and complained, she did not forget to accuse Yin Luofeng. Mu Xuexin looked at Su Shui as if she was looking an idiot. Her beautiful face had an arc of disdain as she coldly glanced at the battered Su Shui. The other women thought that they would see Mu Xuexin's cold expression, but they didn't expect that Mu Xuexin's expression didn't change, as if she didn't hear Su Shui's words. How? How could this be? Isn't Mu Xuexin deeply in love with Qi Su? Why was he so indifferent when he heard that someone was trying to take over his place? The gentle-looking lady in red bit her lips and slowly walked towards Mu Xuexin and Mu Xuexin. Your Highness, we only came to visit young Master Qi Su and have no other intentions. However, we didn't expect that we would actually discover that young Master Qi Su has another woman and even threatened to chase us out. She had been in love with Qi Su for many years. Unfortunately, Qi Su was chased out of the Qi family. No matter how much she liked him, she felt that it was impossible for her to marry someone with no power. Fortunately, Qi Su came back and took over the Qi family in one fell swoop. With such an identity, it wouldn't be too much to be his concubine. However, she was smart enough not to reveal her feelings and only stated that she was here to visit Qi Su. Chapter 1894. She already said that she wants to chase you out. Why are you still shamelessly staying here? Mu Xuexin sneered. Are you trying to spy on Qi Su? The woman in red was stunned. What did the princess mean? Mu Xuexin did not dare to let the woman in red feel conflicted. She continued to speak coldly. Lu Yu, don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. I've turned a blind eye to your father's many contributions to drifting wind country. Don't be so shameless. Even if Lu Yu pretended to be gentle, it was only in the eyes of men. As a woman, Mu Xuexin only wanted to give her one word, green tea bitch. Lu Yu's face turned pale, and she lowered her eyelids. Those who did not know the truth would think that Mu Xuexin was bullying her with her power. Fourth princess, Su Shui was obviously the type of person who did not use her brain and was not afraid of death. Moreover, she was like a cockroach that could not die. Even after suffering such a heavy blow, she could still continue to climb up. She said, the few of us do not covet the position of mistress of the Qi family. We only want to be Master Qi Su's concubines. Isn't it normal for a man to have 3 or 4 wives? As a princess, you cannot stop a man from taking a concubine. Concubine? A bone-chilling cold voice suddenly rang out from behind the crowd. Yin Luofeng. who had not spoken since the beginning, crossed her arms in front of her chest. A devilish smile appeared on her lips as she looked at Chi Su with a half-smile. "You want to take a concubine?" Chi Su was terrified when he heard this. "No, I will never take a concubine, especially these shameless women. I wouldn't want them even if they were given to me." These women had come to the Chi family without any reservations and even said that they wanted to be his concubines. Were they not shameless? Indeed, when they heard Chi Su's words, the women's faces turned pale and they became even more furious. However, they did not dare to vent their anger on Chi Su and Mu Xuexin. They could only glare at Yin Luofeng with hatred. Lu Yu's mind raced. What did she mean? Not allowing Chi Su to take a concubine? What about her? She wants to be the mistress of the Qi family? Yin Luofeng held Qi Ling's little hand as if she did not notice the other's anger. Her lips curled into a small smile. Then remember what you said today. If a person is too half-hearted, then I don't think he will continue to work for me. How much energy would a person with a backyard that was prone to fire have to work for him? Therefore, no one was allowed to take a concubine. This was the most basic requirement. Chi Su hurriedly swore to the heavens. "Miss Yin, don't worry, I will never take a concubine. In this life, I will never let my wife down." Yin Luofeng smiled and did not say anything else. Since Chi Su was back, he would let her deal with these women. "I'm going to meditate. If anyone comes to disturb me again, I'll make them leave lying down." Su Shui was furious. "Who do you think you are? What right do you have to control young Master Qi? Do you think you're the mistress of the Qi family? You..." Bang! Before Su Shui could finish her sentence, she was kicked away. Chi Su clenched his fists and the veins on his forehead bulged. He shouted angrily, "Men, tie Su Shui up and let the Su family come and ransom her." Su Shui panicked. Chi Su didn't have any protective feelings for the fair sex. Did he have the heart to do that? Mu Xuexin looked at Su Shui coldly and said, "It's not your fault for being stupid. It's your fault for being used by others. Also, before you find trouble with Miss Yin, please find out what happened in the Qi family a few days ago." Chapter 1895. Being used. Su Shui's eyes suddenly widened as she turned to look at Lu Yu in astonishment. One had to know that she was so angry at Yin Luofeng just now because of the things that Lu Yu had instilled in her. According to Lu Yu, Yin Luofeng was the kind of woman who shamelessly pestered Chi Su. That was why Su Shui was so angry. At this moment, Lu Yu's face was pale. She bit her lips and looked pitiful. "Are you going to scram? Or should I throw you out?" Chi Su gently narrowed his eyes and said coldly. Those women didn't dare to stay any longer and hurriedly left. Except for Su Shui, who was detained this time, they listened to Mu Xuexin's words and went to inquire about what happened in the Qi family a few days ago. That day, there were many onlookers, so some things weren't difficult to find out. When they found out that Yin Luofeng could actually fight against a heavenly god and even defeat that heavenly god, they instantly panicked. Later on, they even heard that Chi Su was working for Yin Luofeng, and only then did they realize how foolish their actions were. The Su family's patriarch personally came and paid a huge price to bring Su Shui back. After returning, the Su family's patriarch gave his daughter a ruthless beating and immediately told her everything that happened in the Qi family a few days ago. Su Shui was scared silly. Then, she realized that she had really been used by Lu Yu. Thinking of this, she was very angry. The Su family's patriarch was also angry because of this. He used the power in his hands to target Lu Yu's father, causing Lord Lu to be suppressed in the imperial court. After that, every time Su Shui and Lu Yu met, these two women would have a huge battle, wishing that they could tear each other apart. Of course, Yin Luofeng didn't know about these things. This was because Chi Su told her that someone had seen Ji Jiuqian in the state of Tianqi. The reason why Chi Su left for a few days was to confirm this news, state of Tianqi. Speaking of the state of Tianqi, the only person Yin Luofeng knew was the second prince of the state of Tianqi. She narrowed her eyes slightly and tapped her finger on the table. She continued to ask, "Did you find the whereabouts of that ghost Emperor Yun Shao? He seems to be in the state of Tianqi, but I'm not too sure. Chi Su frowned and replied, Chi Su, come with me to the kingdom of Tianqi. Leave the matters here to Elder Zhao. Yin Luo Feng slowly stood up. Regardless of whether this information is correct or not, I will not give up hope. Furthermore, if we want to go to Nemesis Forest, we must pass through the kingdom of Tianqi. Tian Fa Forest. Chi Su seemed to have thought of something and asked, Miss Yin, do you really not know if you were related to my master? I'm not too sure. Yin Luo Feng shook his head. I only know that my mother, Bai Ling, and my father, Yin Yang, both died on the battlefield. I've seen the jade bangle that Xiao Ling took out before. That jade bangle was a token of love that my father had given to my mother. However, if my mother is still alive, whose corpse in the Yun family's ancestral grave belongs to? Yin Luo Feng could not understand. He shook his head and sighed. Chi Su's face was full of excitement. My master also came to this continent from the battlefield. She has forgotten the past and doesn't remember who she is. However, there seems to be a person named Ling in her memory. However, she isn't sure who this person named Ling is. As for my younger sister's name, it was also given by my master. Miss Yin, Chi Su took a deep breath and continued to ask, You said that you don't know who the person in the Yun family grave is. That I would like to ask you, have you seen your mother's corpse? Chapter 1896. Yin Luo Feng was stunned. She shook her head and said, I've never seen it. However, if there was no corpse in the grave, my grandfather would have definitely told me. After all, if there was no corpse, it means that my mother is definitely alive. However, he didn't mention this, so I assumed that my mother's corpse existed. Miss Yin, you can only be sure if she is your mother after you find my master. Chi Su had a premonition that Yun Luo Feng was definitely related to Yun Yueqing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so close to her when he first met her. When he thought of this, a smile appeared on his face. He really hoped that Yun Luo Feng was his master's daughter. That way, his master wouldn't be alone. There's no point in saying more. We'll confirm this in the future. Yun Luo Feng slowly stood up. Go pack up and head to the nation of Tianqi. What she wanted to confirm now was that Yun Xiao and Ji Juqian were no longer in the nation of Tianqi. I'll go prepare now. Chi Su turned around and prepared to leave. Qi Ling wanted to go to the nation of Tianqi too, but who knew how many dangers there would be along the way. Bringing her along would be somewhat unchanged, so Chi Su could only reject her under Qi Ling's tearful gaze. Compared to following them, Qi Ling would be safer in the nation of Tianqi. Moreover, Mu Xuexin was there to take care of her. Qi Ling knew that her brother would never agree to let her follow them. She could only send them off with teary eyes. She didn't know when they would meet again. The nation of Tianqi. The bustling streets were bustling with noise. Yun Luo Feng had actually seen the existence of a puppet among those people. This had indeed surprised her. She didn't expect the puppet to enter the nation of Tianqi so quickly. Chi Su was like a loyal guard as he followed Yun Luo Feng. His eyes were also sizing up the bustling nation of Tianqi. A trace of absent-mindedness appeared in his eyes. Actually, the first time I met Master was in the nation of Tianqi. Back then, I went out to train and encountered danger. Master happened to save me, so I survived. If it wasn't for Yun Yueqing, perhaps he wouldn't be in this world anymore. The past was like smoke, causing Chi Su's eyes to be filled with nostalgia. It was as if he could see that beautiful woman through the bustling crowd. Suddenly, his gaze converged, and it descended onto a figure in front of him. What's wrong? Yun Luo Feng sensed the abnormality of the youth beside him and asked with a slight frown. The young man was startled. He curled his lips and said, I met an acquaintance. After saying this, he slowly walked towards the girl who was surrounded by people. The young girl was not very beautiful. It could be said that her appearance was very ordinary. Her eyes were filled with panic as she looked helplessly at the group of people in front of her. Jinan, I will become the second prince's wife sooner or later. How dare you not kneel before me when you see me? Second princess consort? Yun Luo Feng raised his eyebrows. He suddenly thought of second brother Qi, whom he had met in Stormtown, and his lips curled into a smile. She remembered that Chi Su had once told her that the second prince had a concubine, but that concubine had passed away due to a serious illness. However, there was no news of him marrying another concubine. Yin Luofeng, who was initially unconcerned, heard the next words of the girl who was surrounded, and his face suddenly darkened. Second sister, since you are already the second prince's wife, why are you still angry because father wants to betroth me to young Master Ji? Aren't you thinking about what's in the bowl while eating from the pot? Do you really think that all the men in the world like you? Jianan lifted her chin. Moreover, it was father's order for me to marry Ji Jiuqian. What's the point of you stopping me?